react to the guy's attack. With a powerful burst of energy, she throws Zanhan away from herself. She is angry that the guy cultivated in secret from her. The main character hits a stone wall, leaving a dent in it. It turns out that Zanhan treated the Empress well at the very beginning. However, due to constant bullying, he decides Tancheng's chest begins to accumulate energy. The main character takes off. I think about why he didn't run right away. The Empress suggests that Zanhan wanted to kill her in order to cultivate himself. She can't let that happen. The main character can only run in fear, but the girl grabs him by the shoulder. The Empress is serious. She wants to kill the guy for such audacity. Zanhan realizes that this is most likely his only chance to escape, so he is going to do it no matter what. The first goddess of cultivation throws a guy, punching his carcass through the wall. The main character begins to fall from a height. Zanhan manages to escape from the Empress by cutting off part of his soul. This makes Yang Tancheng very angry. The girl is in despair. She sets a goal to find the fugitive and make him bow to himself as a master. Events are transferred to the Tianwu continent. A guy with blue hair opens his eyes, lying on the grass among the trees. It turns out that it was Zanhan who was reborn in a new body. He is sincerely glad that he managed to escape from the clutches of the Empress. He notes that one day he will return to the Shenggu Palace, where he was held in sexual slavery.
I would be very happy if you subscribed to the channel, liked and wrote a comment, rating this manga on a scale from 1 to 10. Your opinion is very important to me. This will help me better understand what my audience is interested in, because you are really important to me.
For 100 years, the hero is going to destroy this place. Because of his joy, Zanhan does not notice that a girl with pink hair and a beautiful face came up to him from behind. She is surprised that the guy is alive. The girl's name is Lin Huyu. She gave a lethal dose of poison to the guy to kill him. She is confused because he is still alive. Meanwhile, the main character learns that the previous owner of the body is called the same as him. The guy did not stand out from the rest of the people, but he had been in love since childhood with the girl standing opposite. Lin Huyu did not pay any attention to the guy, because she herself had a noble origin. A month ago, everything changed. The girl started paying attention to Zanhan. She even started helping him, but then she pushed him to steal medical prescriptions. As soon as the guy fulfilled the request of his beloved, the latter sent him with the help of poison. Zanhan doesn't want to go into the past, but Lin Huyu has no intention of letting the guy live. For her, reputation plays a primary role. She wants to kill the main character with her own hands and asks him not to resist if he really loves her. The guy declares that his murder will not save the girl's reputation. In his heart, he laments that so many beautiful girls can have such a callous heart. He is happy for the former owner of the body, who did not find out about what a duplicitous person his beloved was. After that, Zheng Heng appears. He is the brother of Lin Huyu. He scolds the girl for her kindness and soft-heartedness. Zheng Heng tells that Lin Huyu is his fiancé. The girl decides to listen to her brother's speeches, taking advantage of the moment while the brother and sister are distracted by the conversation. Zanhan escapes, leaving behind a singe with a middle finger. Relatives go in pursuit. The main character is trying to catch his breath, leaning on a tree. He notes that the new body is very weak. Before Zanhan could catch his breath, his brother and sister overtook him. He is going to continue running, but he is blocked by the road. Zanhan is already mentally lamenting, thinking about another rebirth, but the girl on the horse does not knock him down. She stops, starting to ask the hero questions about what he is doing. The guy does not have time to answer her, because Zhang Heng and Lin Huyu catch up with him. They already want to finish off Zanhan, but the appearance of a girl on a horse stops them. Brother and sister recognize her. Fear and misunderstanding are visible on their faces. The girl's name is Yang Ruxiu. Yan Ruxiu is trying to figure out what is going on. The girl notes that fights are prohibited in the city. Brother and sister are very tense. Zhang Heng is trying to tell a pre-prepared story. He accuses Zanhan of stealing valuable recipes, claiming that they caught him red-handed. In his thoughts, the guy notes that the rumors about Yang Ruxiu are true. The girl really strictly keeps order in the city. The main character does not stay away. He tries to justify his actions by saying that he was controlled by his brother and sister. Yang Ruxiu notes that people have already been sent for Zanhan to be severely punished. His family did it. Zhang Heng tries to hold the main character accountable for his actions, but the guy tells the audience everything as it really was. Zanhan does his best to portray the injured party. He pretends that Lin Huyu used him and then broke his heart, and he's just trying to figure out why he was treated like this. The main character builds everything in such a way that they wanted to kill him. Zhang Heng doesn't like it very much, so he attacks Zanhan, intending to kill him. The hero also notices that Zhang Heng does not respect the laws. Zanhan does nothing. At the last moment, he is saved by Yan Ruxiu. The girl intercepts Zhang Heng's weapon with her bare hand. Yan Ruxiu informs that he will personally take the main character to his relatives so that the latter will sort out the current problem. Jian Han thinks to himself that Hang did a very stupid thing. Zhang Heng also does not stay away. He recalls that a wedding is planned between his older brother and Yang Ruxiu, after which he will become a confidant of the prince. He asks the girl not to interfere in matters concerning the main character. The main character does not stay away. When he hears about the wedding between Zhang Heng's older brother and Ms. Yang, he immediately begins his tirade that a member of the Zhang family is not worthy to be Ms. Yang's husband. With his own words, he provoked his brother and sister. Lin Huyu and Zhang Heng concentrate their forces to kill Jian Han, but Yang Ruxiu comes to his defense. Inwardly, Lin Huyu laments that a girl of her age already has the strength of the third level of cultivation, but she does not intend to retreat. Jian Han, seeing the current situation, continues to speak, provoking the brother and sister to fight. A couple of relatives are surprised and annoyed at the same time. Ms. Yang's strength has put them in a dead end, so Zhang Heng tries to threaten Ms. Yang with the status of his family, but the latter only demands that they leave. Lin Huyu and Zhang Heng are terrified by Lady Yang's strength. They decide to obey the order, but finally Zhang Heng warns Jian Han that his father will get to him sooner or later. He also apologizes to Ms. Yang, but even after apologizing, he says that he will get to Jian Han. The main character continues to grimace to the end. As soon as the brother and sister leave, Ms. Yang puts her weapon to Jian Han's throat. She asks to follow her to his family's house, claiming that if the guy was framed, then she will help achieve justice. The main character understands that he will be severely punished in any case, so he offers Mrs. Yang help. He claims to know about how to avoid a girl getting engaged to the Zhang family. Ms. Yang is very interested in this question, so she gives the guy the opportunity to tell about his plan. The action takes place in the residence of the city government. Ms. Yang returned home, where she began to be reprimanded by her father and mother. The father declares that a man with a bad reputation, who also does not know how to cultivate, does not deserve to be her fiancé. The mother also does not stand aside, trying to isolate her daughter from unnecessary problems. It's all being watched by Jian Han. The main character is mentally amazed at the persistence of Ms. Yang. The girl immediately went to her parents. The girl stands her ground. She asks her parents to send word to the king that the engagement is cancelled. If this is not done right now, then in 3 days there will be an army in the city which should prepare everything for matchmaking. The father is at a loss. He doesn't understand what his daughter found in the main character. For a man, he's just a worthless piece of garbage. Meanwhile, Jian Han catches Ms. Yang's gaze on him, not quite understanding its meaning. The events are transferred to a clearing where a conversation takes place between Jian Han and Mrs. Yang. The girl is trying to understand the logic of the guy. The idea of getting married does not seem strange to her, but she does not understand why he should become her husband. The main character argues this by the fact that no one expects such a development of events, because as the daughter of the head of the city government, she can choose a guy with a terrible reputation for herself who does not represent anything. Jian Han says that an aristocrat whose bride was stolen in front of the whole city will be humiliated and insulted. This will greatly affect his honor and dignity, which is why he will get rid of her. Ms. Yang also notes that in this case, this person will hate her city and that he will not be able to forgive such an act to her family. Jian Han already assures that as long as the aristocrat does not come with his army, he will be able to cope with him. Ms. Yang is thinking to herself about this engagement with a member of the Zhang family. She remembers that she finally decided to get rid of this marriage. It is because of this that she decides to try Jian Han's idea. Events in the residence of the city government continue to develop. Ms. Yang only became more determined. She declares that she will not back down, but her father opposes this decision. He simply can't bear such a disgrace. His daughter interrupts his angry speech. She confidently says that he will not be able to stop them. The girl's father reminds that the royal residence is very greedy. If their marriage does not take place, then the northern and southern lands of the kingdom will be forcibly annexed to them. Ms. Yang stands her ground, considering this issue a matter of honor for their family. Jian Han himself is amazed at the character of his future wife. He thought she was only beautiful. The father gradually begins to understand the logic of his daughter. Her plan becomes clear to him, but his thoughts are interrupted by the main character. Jian Han declares that he will be able to protect his future wife. The father-in-law sees hidden strength and character in his son-in-law, so he decides to trust him, although he warns that if the guy breaks his promise, there will be serious consequences. The man gathers a detachment of his subordinates at the residence, where he informs them about his daughter's engagement, which will be held in the main palace of the city tomorrow. He gives people an order to protect his daughter. Jian Han is getting ready for the wedding. He enjoys the hot spring. In parallel with this, he begins to recover his Kai energy. The process is very slow. Although the main character, with the help of the ancient soul of Chaos Hunden, was able to quickly master 3 of the 7 secret techniques, this will allow him to improve his body and speed up his workouts. Another person appears in the room. This is the maid Xianger, who asks the guy to hurry up. The main character just shrugs it off, saying that he is preparing for a wedding. However, the girl quickly refutes his words. It turns out that this pool of spirits was prepared for Yang Ruxiu, and the guy took it. The maid says that a lot of influential people have already gathered in the city to congratulate the couple on the housewarming. But Jian Han adds that today not only congratulations will be poured into his address, the main character even wonders how far this performance will go. The main character shows his attitude. He is going to become much stronger to face Yang Qingcheng. However, there are problems with that. He got to the 7 Dragons continent, which is lower than the Azure Dragon continent. Because of this, the concentration of Kai aura is much lower here. Martial arts are divided into 7 levels: Kai Gathering, Vessel Circulation Control, Junior Guru, Grand Master, Path Master, Sage, and Absolute Peak. Each of the levels is divided into 9 more classes, overcoming which you can reach the top of martial arts. After passing the last level, you can get immortality. The Empress has already half finished the last level, so the gap between them is huge, but the hero is not discouraged. He decides to discard the guy's past in order to seize power in the palace. The festive ceremony begins. The guests share their assumptions among each other, but no one knows who will be the groom of Ms. Yang. Lin Huyu and Zhang Heng also come to the wedding, but the Giant family did not come. People assume that this is due to the disgrace of their family by Jian Han. The Zhang family begins to guess that the son-in-law is not the heir of the princely house, because the latter is still on the way. However, Zheng Guozhi claims that the city house would be afraid to avoid this marriage. The assumption about the son-in-law falls on Zhao, because he has been friends with Yang Ruxiu since childhood. But Zhang is a very cruel and ruthless person, but he decided to stay in the city only because of the Yang family. At the same time, Zhang enters the room. He is very aggressive and wants to see Ms. Yang, and he also wants to know who became her son-in-law. Everyone is confused because the guests considered it Zhao Nen. The chief of the city and his wife intervene in the case. He presses authority on Zhao, who immediately takes his emotions under control. She calmly tries to find out the truth about everything that is happening. But Yang Ruxiu's parents only inform the guy that their daughter met her lover and that this whole wedding is solely her initiative, and believes that there is no more worthy son-in-law than him because he was ready to link his life with the protection of their city. He demands to let him go to Lady Yang, but the city guards get in his way. The carnage is prevented by Ms. Yang, who goes out in a luxurious outfit to her cousin. The girl personally informs the guy that she has found her lover. He asks him to forget about their wedding because it's already in the past, and cannot believe these words of his beloved. To the very end, he considers everything said to be some kind of joke, because they have been together since childhood. Only when Anya hears the words of his beloved asking him to leave if he is against this holiday, the guy understands that this is not a lie. However, he does not intend to give up. He decides to get the girl by any means. Seeing Anya's mood, Ms. Yang orders her subordinates to move away. Zhao tries to remind his beloved that her family's orders will no longer work for them. That now the Zhao family won't defend the city, and calls to battle the man who stole his beloved from him. A crowd has already gathered around this event. Lialai are whispering among themselves, even starting to believe that the Yang family is deceiving everyone. Then Giant Han comes out of the crowd. He is very sleepy, but you can read confidence in his gaze. Zhao simply does not believe in what is happening. Yuxiu's parents are amazed by the appearance of their son-in-law, and the girl herself asks him to return to the shelter so that he does not create problems. But the hero ignores all these words. He begins to communicate with Zhao as if he has already become the head of the city, and in himself is his personal dog, and comes to his senses. He's very angry. The road cracks under his feet, but at the same time gives Giant Han a choice. Either the guy will leave the Young family house himself, or he will throw it away. The main character evaluates the strength of the enemy. Anya has the 9th level of Kai collection. Ryukshu's parents start to panic. They believe that Han went out in public on purpose to embarrass them, and strikes his blow. But the hero is covered by his fiancée. Ms. Yang declares that they will be together until the very end, and therefore Anya will have to go through her first. This takes Anya's anger to a new level. The man wants to kill Han with all his being. Ryukshu comes to his defense, releasing his deadly aura. This surprises the main character a little, but he comes forward and asks the girl to trust him. Giant Han declares that he will protect the girl all his life. He decides to challenge Anya, however, not with his fists, but in gambling. He offers to play for money, dignity, or just for life, and does not understand what it means to play for dignity. Han explains to him that the loser will lose his little friend. He tries to intimidate the enemy with his aura, but it doesn't come out very well, and agrees, choosing archery competitions in combat formations and strength. Meanwhile, people are whispering about how there is no shame and conscience in Han, and Zhang Heng is already rejoicing about the victory because he knows that Han spent 10 years in a military camp. Zhao bets 10,000 gold on the first game. The main character says that he has nothing to answer because all the money went to the wedding. These words caused outrage from the head of the city. It turns out that Giant Han has 7 gold pills of the 3rd class, which in total cost about 70,000 gold. This shocks everyone present. The head of the city demands that the son-in-law does not make such big bets on the game, because not only does he himself not have such pills, but also for 70,000 gold you can pay city duty for a whole year, and is in turmoil. There is a lot of money at stake, but with these pills, one can reach the peak of cultivation. Meanwhile, the main character invites everyone to take part in the competition. Vuxu's father is the very first to call. He is immediately blocked by his wife, who does not understand the man's actions. The head of the city also explains that the son-in-law is not as good as the pill of immortality. Families start betting on Anya's victory. The Zhang family is betting 20,000. The Lin family puts the same amount. The Chamber of Commerce decides to bet 10,000. And Zhang Haiyan decides to bet the last 10,000, for which he immediately receives a reprimand from his father because 30,000 gold is all their family's money, and asks the Zhang family to decide. As a result, the head of the Zhang family decides to bet the whole family day on the victory of Xiao. The main character asks his father-in-law to become a witness, and he agrees, although he believes that the guy's actions are complete stupidity. Then the events are transferred to the arena of the test, and his henchmen are ready for battle, while Giant Han is completely relaxed, and adds fuel to the fire by talking about an additional reward for Han's head. They begin to explain the rules of the fight. There are 12 people on Anya's side. They are lined up and preparing for battle. At the same time, the soldiers on Giant Han's side didn't even line up. Moreover, they begin to shout speeches in praise of their enemy. The main character notes that they don't look like soldiers at all. It turns out that Ryukshu's father specifically hired such a rabble so as not to disgrace himself in front of other people. In the same stands, the Lin family and the Zhang family are already beginning to reflect on a new dominance in the city after this victory. The father-in-law is not very happy with the actions of his son-in-law, and the main character himself remembers his last words about voluntary surrender. He only mentally asks you to wait and trust him. The head of the city announces the start of the competition, and immediately gives the order to kill Han. His soldiers form a long chain in the shape of a snake. Such a tough position shows the aggressiveness of Anya's intentions. Meanwhile, Zhang Haiyan and his father are talking in the stands. The son assures the head of the family that there is nothing to be afraid of, and if Giant Han wins, he is even ready to name his son after him. The father condemns his son for such a position, but Haiyan is adamant, because he is sure of Han's defeat. Meanwhile, the main character is preparing to join the battle. There is no fear in his gaze. He is completely confident in his victory, which is why he even grins. Giant Han chooses the turtle formation. His warriors stand in a circle, putting their shields forward. They calmly defend themselves, withstanding the onslaught of Anya's people. Jan Haiyan only grins at the actions of the main character, considering Anya's tactics stupid and useless. Ms. Yang does not understand her husband's plan, because he does not give an answer to the opponent. Her father also says that it is pointless to expect something good from this battle. And, seeing the enemy's formation, orders to break through his defense. All the blows of Anya and his people are blocked, which causes confusion for their leader. Vuxiu also notices that Han uses one of the lost tactics of fighting, the Great Turtle. All the heads of the houses are amazed by what is happening, and Zhang Haiyan is trying to somehow justify himself to his father. The guy thinks it's impossible that Han can know one of the 10 best tactics of fighting, and is very angry about everything that is happening. He was sure that victory would be easier. He sees that his enemy's formation is greatly weakened, so he orders his men to deliver the last blow, believing that Han has opened up for a strike. The main character only grins at him in response, giving the order to change the formation. The new formation easily copes with the onslaught of the enemy. People are beginning to wonder what kind of construction Han used. Vuxiu rejoices for his betrothed, announcing to everyone that the Han people used the Imperial Dragon stance. This construction is also one of the 10 lost. It is known for its mobility in the offensive. Thanks to a very quick restructuring, Anya's people find themselves surrounded. Giant Han puts a spear to Anya's throat, mocking him, but the hero does not plan to kill him. In his thoughts, the guy rejoices that he was able to reread the entire collection of books in the Yangqing Temple while he was in prison. It was from there that he learned about the best constructions. Everyone present is amazed by Han's victory. They regret the stupid money bet they placed against him. And the main character provokes the Zhang family to rash actions, reminding them of Zhang Haiyan's word. The latter accuses Han of cheating, not fully believing in his honest victory. Because of this, his father is even more angry. He hits his son for stupidity, because if not for his actions, they could have saved 10,000 gold. Also, the head of the Zhang family admits that Giant Han is a good son-in-law. The main character only rejoices at such stupidity of officials, and takes out his anger on his subordinate, demanding to hold a second competition. He wants Han Yu dead. Giant Han gives all the winnings of 70,000 gold and one of the 10 ancient tactics of fighting to his father-in-law. This is a gift for the future baby of their family. The head of the city is very pleased with the actions of his son-in-law. Ryukshu is also happy about what is happening. She assumes that her future husband found a new copy of the oldest books, in which he reads such tactics of warfare. Meanwhile, the head of the Zhang family has already realized that Han is no longer just a boy. Lin Huyu looks at the main character differently. She realized that the guy had prepared in advance for the battle within. The girl admits that she greatly underestimated Han, and wants to continue the competition, but the main character asks him not to hurry. He turns to his mother-in-law, clarifying some details from her, and is her nephew, so Han asks her permission because he believes that Han may suffer in the future. This greatly angers Anya, behind whose back people begin to whisper about the excessive self-confidence of the main character. The mother-in-law takes a neutral position, believing that young people should decide everything themselves. Han was genuinely afraid of upsetting the woman. He notices that the relationship between the Yang family and the Zhao family is very difficult, and it can't wait to show her superiority over the main character in order to return the love of her life. Therefore, he demands the second to hold the second competition as soon as possible. The guy already has a bow of 10 stones in his hands. This weapon is custom-made and weighs more than 300 pounds. The audience is amazed by Anya's strength. Zhang Haiyan is confident in Anya's victory, because the latter became famous throughout the city for his archery, and Giant Han himself has never shown such results. Ryukshu also does not fully understand the actions of his betrothed. She's worried about him, and made a very strong impression on everyone around him. However, after looking at his opponent, he only got angrier. Han was eating an apple all this time and didn't even listen to Anya's arrogant speeches. The warrior demands to bring a stone tile. She is somehow dragged by 2 soldiers. They throw it into the sky, where An turns it into small stones with a confident bow shot. The audience notes that An got right in the center. Everyone is delighted with Anya's strength and accuracy of shooting, and he also wants to see Han's strength in this matter. The main character laughs it off, believing that he can shoot a bow so that An gets pregnant. This makes everyone present laugh. Even Ryukshu somehow holds back tears of laughter, and throws his bow to Han, demanding that he shoot, otherwise he intends to finish off the main character. Giant Han shows that it's hard for him to even hold this bow. The 2 behind him are just mocking the guy's weakness. Han also notes that Anya's bow is very good. Its base is made of the bloody horn of a rhinoceros, and the bowstring is made of its tendons, and flatters his ego by throwing a few mocking taunts towards Han. He is also supported by Zhang Haiyan. The main character explains his slowness by breaking the bow, because then he will have to pay for it, and is so confident in his bow that not only will he not take payment for Han, but he will kneel before him in such an outcome. His speech is supported by Haiyan, who, like Han, is ready to kneel and even call Han his grandfather. Then the main character pulls a bow and shoots. The bow breaks, and Han demands 2 guys to kneel. The hero is happy that he has 2 grandchildren. He tries to share his joy with his future wife, but Ryukshu does not share his happiness in this matter because he does not want to have grandchildren. Zhang Haiyan and Zhao An are outraged by what is happening. They accuse the guy of cheating. Han had anticipated this development. He knew that these guys are not able to admit defeat, so he asks to bring him a bow of 15 stones, which weighs 450 pounds. People begin to think the main character is crazy. The bow has a decent weight, which is why it is carried by as many as 2 soldiers. It turns out that this bow is the treasure of the city lord. It hasn't been taken out for years. It is made of solid lapis lazuli stone, and the bowstring is made of the tendons of the Snake King. The father of the Lin family asks his daughter about Giant Han's skill in archery. Lin Huyu knows almost nothing about this, but she is sure that the main character will not be able to hit the target accurately with this weapon. Han pulls 3 arrows on the string at once, after which he confidently shoots them at a huge boulder nearby. All 3 arrows hit the center of the target. The father-in-law is amazed at the accuracy of his son-in-law's shooting, because the latter's goal flew in all directions, but he was still able to hit. The head of the city admits that Giant Han is very refined with a bow and arrow. The main character is declared the winner in the second contest. Everyone present is in complete shock. They just can't believe what's happening, and is greatly discouraged. The whispers of the crowd behind him literally accuses him of weakness and infirmity, and still gathers up the courage. He intends to win back his beloved from Han. Young Ryuksu is his cousin. Anya's mood drops when the main character directs a bow at him, who demands to give him an award. Seeing that Han does not intend to fulfill the agreement, Han shoots an arrow at him. The commander-in-chief catches it with his bare hands. A spark of anger and malice appears in Anya's eyes. He takes off, intending not to kill Giant Han easily, but to torture him to death. The main character accepts this challenge. There is a collision of two forces. One has the second level. Chapter 1-8. All the viewers are amazed. They don't understand how the second level can withstand the 10th. Ryuksu asks Anya to back off, but the latter is very serious. He wants to kill Han and make Lady Yang his woman. Giant Han took advantage of the fact that his opponent was distracted by conversations during the fight. With a powerful right hook, he sent Anya flying. Everyone noticed that Han's aura had changed. He showed that he had reached the 6th level of Kai purification. Han's new power had no effect on Anya's actions. He still wants to kill his enemy, and takes off. The main character accepts the challenge. Giant Han strikes first. A powerful blow to the gut knocks all the air out of Anya's lungs, forcing her to spit out shelter, but Han does not stop there. While his opponent is in flight, he also strikes a blow to the jaw, and dodges a kick, bending in the stomach area. But the main character is in good control of the situation. He changes the angle of attack at the last moment, as a result of which Han is defeated. Everyone present is surprised at how quickly this fight ended, and is lying on the ground, trying to catch his breath. Han approaches him. Blood is running down his arm, when there are only a few meters between them, and finds the strength to take a semi-sitting position. Shanghaian, covered in sweat, does not believe in everything that is happening. He shouts that Giant Han could not reach such a level of strength, but the head of the family shuts him up. The head of the Zhang family believes that his son deceived him. With a powerful blow, he knocks out Haiyan, and he only thinks about what kind of person is standing in front of him. He sees perfectly well that Han is up to something. The man also assumes that Han has another trump card up his sleeve. The main character is only surprised by the short-sightedness of his enemy. To reveal his trump card, he bares his torso, showing all the gathered tattoos and wounds on his body. It turns out that Han has cut his vessels. This allowed him to instantly increase the power in his body by dozens of times. But the price for this is the destruction of internal meridians. After this, the subsequent cultivation will be much harder and can lead to death. Zhang Haiyan only rejoices in his rightness. According to him, Giant Han will not be able to advance beyond the 6th level of cultivation. This Yang is very concerned. She doubts that such methods were necessary to win, and begs for mercy, but Han is adamant. With a powerful kick, he kills the guy completely. Everyone is amazed by such actions of Han, and the main character only wants to continue the wedding. His wife is in such shock that she just agrees. Lin Huyu is mentally lamenting. She is angry at Giant Han, who, as it turned out, hid so much from her, but even now she does not consider him a worthy match for herself. The girl puts herself on a level higher than Yan Ryuksu. The marriage ritual ends. The couple bow to each other, and then go to the room for the newlyweds. This room is filled with wedding candles, which causes a storm of anticipation for the main character, because this is the perfect setting for the wedding night. The guy blushes, holding out his hands to his wife, but Ms. Young starts a conversation. Ryuksu is surprised by her betrothed, which she says to his face, but she does not understand why he hid his abilities from her. Han just shrugs it off, believing that such conversations can wait. The girl tries to ask the hero about everything. She is sure that the Zhao family will not get rid of him now. She is also worried that Han has cut his blood vessels. The guy takes the girl by the waist, pulling her to him. He explains that without such drastic measures, they would not have been able to cope with the Zhao and Lin families. Ryuksu tries to resist such a decision, thinking that they could have done otherwise. Take stricter protection measures. Han also says that he hid his capabilities to protect the Yang family. He also decides to tell his wife about the plans to seize the palace. The main character unties his wife's belt. He broke his meridians for a reason. He wanted his enemies to see him as a threat. Ryuksu is amazed at such self-sacrifice of her husband. She sincerely thanks him. Han Yu can't wait to get down to business, but the girl's words make him stop. Now Ryuksu will always protect the main character while he is in the Yang residence. Mentally, the guy notices that in fact all his motives were much more selfish. He just wanted to get stronger. Then the girl abruptly lets go of the guy's hand and turns away. Han is dissatisfied with such an act. Ryuksu also says that they need to hold out for only 1 year. Then, if Han wants to, he can become free. The girl is even ready to give him a large sum of money for this. The impatience of the main character took over after all. He approached the girl from behind and turned her around to face him, stating that he could worry about such things later. He pushed Ryukshu onto the bed, starting to take off his clothes. The girl blushed from such actions. Giant Hand jumps onto the bed, intending to kiss the girl, but Ms. Young dodges. The main character mentally laments his failure. Ryukshu is ready to accept the guy as her honorary husband, but she is not ready for such things yet. Han only talks about her cruelty because the girl wants to leave him alone on their wedding night. Ms. Young offers an alternative in the form of a servant Xianger. The hero has no choice but to agree, although it is clear that he is not very disappointed with such a substitution. The maid comes to the room of the newlyweds. Ryukshu asks Xianger to stay with Han. Ms. Young leaves, and the maid herself finally realizes that they want to make a prostitute out of her. When Ryukshu finally left the room, the hero demands that the girl take off her clothes. Xianger doesn't want to do this, so she tries to explain in words that she doesn't want it, but it's not so important to Hanyu. He begins to take off the maid's clothes himself. Xianger is almost crying. She is afraid that she will be taken by force, but Han only touches her back with his palm. It turns out that he didn't want to touch her. The hero pours his strength into the girl, which is why the latter is very pleasant. Han very abruptly removes his hand from Xianger. The girl is outraged that the process stopped very quickly. It turns out that by his actions, the main character was checking the physical condition of the girl's body in order to prepare an immortality pill for her. This will help her speed up her cultivation tenfold. Han literally hands Xianger everything she needs. The girl is under a strong impression of everything that is happening. He wants her to drink it right now. It wasn't easy for Giant Hand to make such a generous offer to the girl. From his thoughts, it can be understood that Xianger has a very pure yin body that needs to be developed. That's why he didn't take the girl's virginity right now. The main character trained all night. He was very tired. Xianger confirms these words. But Ryusuke perceives these words a little differently. The girl begins to be jealous of her husband for the maid, which does not go away from the eyes of Han. The newlyweds go to their parents, where the head of the city assures that now Giant Han is part of their family, and they will protect him. However, the man reminds that he will not tolerate shameful antics from the guy. Ryukshu's mom pays attention not to her husband's cruelty. She doesn't like that. She also notes that Han really loves their daughter, so she will be expecting granddaughters soon. In her own words, the woman urges the newlyweds to try. This causes a strong burst of enthusiasm from Han, who is ready to give his best. Ryukshu does not share such aspirations of her husband. Let the guy outwardly rejoice at the words of his mother-in-law, but inside he understands that everything will not be so simple. Ryukshu also changes the subject. It turns out that this afternoon the whole district will gather in their city. The reason for this is the arrival of a big shot. The junior prince of the Jufu court will arrive with his butler. The aristocrat himself has the 7th stage of Kai gathering, and his attendant, manager Qin Heng, is a great master with great strength. A discussion begins between family members. The father of the family knows that it will not be easy to openly attack the Yang family, but Ryukshu draws attention to the fact that the Imperial Majesty's brother will now be in the ranks of the enemy. If he asks to do something, then the family will have to fulfill his request, but some reasonable framework is needed. That's what Han is trying to define. It's hard for Ryukshu to accept this, however, in her opinion, they will have to endure. The father of the family is trying to find another way out of the situation, turning to the main character. Han partially agrees with his father-in-law's opinion. If the requests are within reason, they will fulfill them without any complaints and even try to satisfy the desire of the guests. But if the requests cross the line, the hero intends to kill the guest. The words of the son-in-law anger the head of the city. If they kill the guests, the enemy troops will begin to threaten the borders. In that case, the entire Yang family residence will be hit. Han begins to explain his position and how he came to this decision. The city will no longer be captured by marriage, so the only thing the enemies can do is to exert pressure through the emperor. The hero draws a clear line of requirements, because guests can demand the power of the head of the city or start threatening Ryukyu. After these words, the girl herself gets into the conversation. Ryukshu would rather commit suicide than let the enemy achieve such success. This seriously scared the girl's father and Han, who are not ready for such a development. Ryukshu finally realized that Han really cared about her. The head of the city wants to find out the details of the plan from his son-in-law, because the enemy has a great master. Killing him is a very difficult task. That's when the main character talks about the strategy of the 3 rings, presenting his father-in-law with a book with legendary fighting techniques. Han wants to combine the knowledge of this book and the pills of immortality to defeat the enemy. The guy decides to take care of the rest himself. Jun Han, now Han'er because of the wedding, and Yang Ryuksu stand in front of the soldiers lined up in a row. The hero notices that the opponent's soldiers have a rather strict military appearance, and the aura of war emanates from them. The girl doubts that her husband's plan will work. There are about 3,000 people in the snow-covered city, and Han is going to defeat the Great Master with only 30. The guy assures his wife that this will be enough. The hero greets the soldiers, but they only look at him in bewilderment. It turns out that they are not trained in any slogans. The guy immediately notices this, planning to teach them such things in the future because it raises morale. Husband and wife begin to choose candidates for the Han squad. Ryuxiu is going to talk about the cultivation skills of each individual member and their fighting strength so that the hero can determine the suitable candidates himself, but Han just shrugs it off. He didn't even look at the cultivation level of the soldiers. Han gives a fiery speech in which he talks about how important this mission is for the snow-covered city. This greatly inspires the soldiers. Han is willing to take the soldiers with him if they fulfill certain conditions. Ryuxiu is watching everything that is happening with interest. The hero divides soldiers into 3 categories: a hand-to-hand combat fighter, a scout, and a first-class archer. One of his conditions is that the soldiers find a common rhythm to go step by step. Confusion is visible in the eyes of the soldiers. It's the first time they've heard of such a thing. Ryuxiu decides to intervene. She can't understand why it's so necessary to win. Han only calls on the city guard to obey. However, seeing the misunderstanding in their eyes, he realizes that they do not know anything about the rhythm. The soldiers begin to talk. For them, everything that happens is like some kind of stupid game. They believe that rhythm is peculiar to women, not them. A hand is raised in the crowd. An ordinary soldier breaks down and clarifies about the order, considering that soldiers need to beat the drums of war. This pleases the son-in-law, and he even asks the name of the soldier. The guy's name is Luo Sheng, and he is the weakest of all those present. The soldiers are amazed that they could not guess such a simple thing. Hanner is going to announce the second condition. The soldiers mentally agree with the first condition of the son-in-law, because at least one drummer is needed for the war. The hero wants to choose the most courageous soldiers present, but his next question does not quite fit into the minds of all those present. He asks those who can sew to get out of order. Several people fell to the ground, and a muscular soldier stepped forward. His aura scared Han a little, and Ryuxiu only made a hand-face gesture, looking at everything that was happening. The man who came out of the crowd learned to sew from his mother. This surprised everyone around. The main character asks the name of the soldier. His name is Xu Weiliang. The soldier is very confused. Hanner made a little mockery of the soldier that he is a mama's boy. Ryuxiu is still trying to unravel the meaning of her husband's actions. She doesn't understand what his plan is and what other rings are left. Han declares that Xu Weiliang will now mend clothes. Also, the hero now wants to find acrobats, blacksmiths, and chess players among the soldiers. The guy makes a lot of strange demands, because of which people come forward. When 30 people are recruited, he stops recruiting for his squad. Ryuxiu finally realizes that her husband really intended only to defeat the Great Master with a squad of 30 people. This is what the hero tells her right to her face, although somewhere inside she thought that these people would be needed for a banquet, not a fierce battle. The girl, even if she sees the strength of these people, but doubts that they will be able to break through the protection of the Great Master. She is also afraid that her husband will use her as pawns for his game. The guy notices the beauty of the girl, gently touching her hair. He declares that in 5 hours he will make these people strong enough to defeat the Great Master. Ryuxiu wants to oppose this decision, but Han leaves with his squad, intending to finish off the Great Master in the evening. Anxiety begins to grow between the soldiers. They do not believe that a son-in-law is capable of performing such an important task with such a set of people. Many are afraid that this will lead to the collapse of the snow-covered city, and others are very upset that Ryuxiu chose such garbage for herself. His wife comes to the defense of the main character. She decides to teach the soldiers a double drill. The soldiers can only agree with this, marveling at the actions of their mistress, although it is clear from the girl's face that she herself does not fully believe in victory in this scenario. 5 hours fly by unnoticed. The guests arrived in the snow-covered city. The little prince is a reddish boy with yellow hair. His escort, Qin Heng, is a brunette with slicked back hair, a neat mustache, and a thin strip of beard. A dialogue ensues between the little prince and his escort. From it can be understood that the prince's brother had high hopes for this city, although the aristocrat himself believes that it was not worth it. She already mentally imagines how young Ryuxiu will punish her for her resistance. The young man dreams of tying the girl with a rope around her neck, making her almost his slave. The prince understands that the Yang family's actions have caused great damage to his reputation, so he is going to punish them. However, he believes that young Ryuxiu is to blame for everything. Qin Heng also approves of his opinion. The little prince and Zhaoan, who died at the hands of Han, are brothers. The aristocrat is going to bring maximum suffering to the girl, depriving her of honor. Because of this, he gives an assignment to the mercenary Ken, so that the Yang family will pay for everything they have done. The head of the city, together with his daughter, young Ryukyu, meets the little prince and his escort. The young family respectfully welcomes the honored guests. The little prince finally pays attention to the girl who killed her brother. Now he is beginning to understand why and fought so fiercely for her. Ryukyu has a beautiful face and a perfect figure. The aristocrat is salivating at the very sight of her. As Yang mentally notes that all the rumors about the little prince turned out to be true. He is a very frivolous person and a pervert. Ryukyu informs the aristocrat that she really got married. This statement will only amuse the little prince, who is going to take the girl as his wife. The atmosphere quickly changed, becoming oppressive. The father of the young family notes that most likely they will have to act according to Giant Hand's plan. Ryukyu's father shows with all his appearance that he took the words of the little prince as a joke. He asks the guests to go to the mansion, where rooms have already been prepared for them. In addition, a banquet was prepared in honor of the arrival of such a person. The aristocrat agrees, stating that he also has an important conversation. The guests go into the room and sit down at the table, where there is a lot of delicious food, but the little prince is not interested in this. The young family is going to join them. The pervert's gaze jumps from Ryukyu's chest to her mother's chest. A lustful smile immediately appears on his face. The little prince begins to pour compliments towards the young family, noticing the beauty of two representatives of the fair sex. The head of the city can only thank for this. The head of the young family followed the gaze and manners of his guest. He realized that the little prince had his eye not only on his daughter, but also on his wife. The man does not like it, so he admits that the son-in-law was right. The aristocrat must die. The little prince begins to ask the young family about Giant Han. Rumors about his talent have already reached the ears of the kid, so he wants to see him. The head of the city perceives the words of the guest as a joke. The head of the young family specifically ordered the main character not to appear so that he would not spoil everything. The little prince stands his ground. He demands that Han be invited to the table so that he is not considered too arrogant. The head of the city can only agree with this. The man mentally notes that everything is going according to Giant Han's preconceived plan. The main character immediately appears in the field of view of all those present. All this time he was just waiting for an invitation in a separate room. Han greets the little prince, calling himself a commoner. The aristocrat immediately notes that Giant Han is very handsome. The hero only thanks for this. Ryukyu starts sweating from the realization that her husband's acting skills are too good. The little prince is mentally lamenting that such trash could win the heart of Mrs. Yang. The aristocrat decides to put forward his proposal. Initially, he planned to marry Ryukyu instead of his brother, but due to the fact that she is busy, he puts such conditions on the head of the city that the latter cannot refuse. The prince wants the city to return to his possession, and all military power to pass into his hands. The head of the young family asks for time to think, because this issue is very serious. The aristocrat decides to give the man a little time to think, but the prince sets one more condition. The aristocrat wants Ryukyu and her mother to serve him while the head of the family ponders this issue. The guy likes to drink wine with beauties. This proposal infuriates the head of the city. He clenches his fist, about to tell the arrogant boy everything he thinks about him. Right now, Lord Young is least concerned about the disadvantage, but his son-in-law gets involved. The hero offers a compromise in this matter. He will find other beauties for the prince, so as not to bother his mother-in-law and wife. The aristocrat is not worshipful. He confidently declares that he will sleep with Giant Han's wife and mother-in-law today. The atmosphere begins to heat up. The girls do not like these words, but they are in no hurry to get into the conversation. The main character only asks a question about mercy. The prince laughs in his face. The aristocrat is sure that the young family is forced to dance to his tune, because their future fate will depend on the degree of his contentment. Now it's not enough for the prince to have two beauties. He demands that the mayor and his son-in-law kneel in front of him and start playing the drums. Only then would he spare the young family and their city. The head of the city is furious at such speeches of the guy. Giant Han threatens the boy with rebellion, hinting that the guests are not at home, but on their territory. The prince scoffs at such words of his son-in-law. He believes that the power of the great master is enough to bury the whole city. The hero is determined. He's going to start a riot. The hero makes a couple of hand claps. Several soldiers enter the room with bags dripping with blood. The prince begins to sweat. He is amazed by this development. The aristocrat quickly becomes aware of the situation. All his men are dead, and their heads are in bags. In fear, the guy tries to clarify whether this is exactly an uprising. The answer to him is the simultaneous words of the son-in-law and the head of the city that today the little prince will die. The little prince gives an order to his subordinate to kill Yang Tiangen, the head of the Yang family. The great master breaks down to the head of the city with the sole intention of killing him. The man, in response, concentrates his forces, preparing for defense. Two opposing forces collided. The Great Master unleashed a hail of blows on his opponent, but the head of the Yang family does not yield to him, giving a confident rebuff. Their fists strike, creating a shockwave. Both are thrown away by the powerful release of energy. The head of the city hits a stone wall, making a huge dent with his body. Blood is flowing from his mouth. He's trying to catch his breath. Qin Heng realizes that his opponent has broken through to the first-level master. The little prince begins to panic, realizing that his life is in danger. Han intervenes in the conversation. He states the fact that the little prince now has no advantage, because there is also a master on the side of the Yang family. The hero invites the little prince to fall to his knees and hit his head on the floor 3 times. Then they won't kill him. These words infuriate the aristocrat. Qin Heng remains calm. He is still confident of his victory, which he informs his employer about. The head of the Yang family is injured, and there is not enough vitality in his body. He is confident that he will win within 10 moves. The mercenary's words restore the prince's pride. He is going to cut off his son-in-law's arms and legs, and then play with Ryukshu in front of his eyes. So he wants to teach him a lesson for insulting him. The confidence of the great master fades to nothing when the main character announces another gift for the guests. He asks the mercenary to look at his palm. Qin Heng sees that his skin is covered with black lines. He is amazed by what he saw, because he did not eat or drink anything at the table, fearing that he would be poisoned. Han explains that it's all about the air. The hero notes that if the great master had not used his power, he would not have been poisoned. Toxic fumes enter the man's body along with the life force. The poison is not fatal. It is needed to weaken the great master. Now Qin Heng is 50% weaker. The mercenary praises his son-in-law for his ingenuity. Qin Heng has always been a very careful person, but he notices an important detail. If he was poisoned, then the head of the Yang family turns out too. The hero declares that the next opponent of the great master will not be his father-in-law. He makes 2 claps, after which 10 soldiers in heavy armor enter the room. Qin Heng believes that the son-in-law decided to sacrifice his people. The little prince mocks Han's actions. He believes that such a number of soldiers, even in heavy armor, are not equal to the great master. At this point, Ryukshu's parents begin to panic. They, like their daughter, doubt that 10 people are able to cope with one great master of the first rank. The hero's wife herself is also in tension. Han provokes the enemy to attack. Qin Heng decides to fulfill this request of the boy. He's going to kill 10 soldiers. Qin Heng unleashes his power on a small group of soldiers. He believes that even 100 people will not be able to cope with one great master, let alone 10. Ryukshu is amazed by the strength of her enemy. He covers his face to protect himself from the force that is suppressing her. The girl is worried about the 10 warriors who dared to challenge such a strong man. But Han calms her down. He is sure that nothing happened to the soldiers. Here Mrs. Yang has an epiphany. Her husband is completely relaxed. He is not afraid of such a powerful force. Qin Heng's blow hits the shield of one of the soldiers, but the latter did not even move from his place, confidently remaining in his place. The mercenary is straining, because he really is opposed by 10 people. The little prince can't believe his eyes either. The Yang family is at a loss. They don't understand how these soldiers were able to withstand the master's blow. The hero also explains that this 10 went through the strengthening of the body with the help of medicinal material. Thanks to this, each of them was able to reach at least the 3rd level. They used the shield unloading method to withstand the great master's blow. However, such an opponent is not that easy. Even a custom-made cast iron shield bent from the blow of such a strong man. Then the mercenary notices something. Qin Heng notices that there are several gaps in the enemy's formation. He is going to use one of them, but something stops him. One of the soldiers reacts in time to the attack of the great master. He strikes with a swing of his sledgehammer, hitting Qin Heng. The little prince is terrified of what is happening. He just doesn't understand how 10 people were able to injure a first-class grandmaster. One of the soldiers begins to beat the drum. The great master immediately notices this. Ryukshu's parents are surprised. It turns out that the soldier uses a secret sonic attack technique. The hero notes that this attack hits the insides. The effect of this is pretty good. The head of the Yang family is amazed that his son-in-law has such an extremely rare attack. The man begins to wonder where Han got so many precious secret techniques from. The great master releases his aura, trying to defend himself from the sonic attack. The little prince begins to accuse his subordinate of weakness. The aristocrat thinks that all the soldiers that the great master fights are scum, and since Qin Heng can't defeat them, then he is also scum. Such garbage has no place in the palace. The mercenary accepts the prince's words. He releases his power, starting to fight in full force. In a few seconds, he scatters soldiers in heavy armor who could previously cope with his onslaught. The great master uses the protection of the Kai body. Having dealt with all the soldiers who stood in his way, Qin Heng is going to kill the entire Yang family. The mercenary is very serious. Qin Heng praises his son-in-law for the fact that the latter was able to cause him to vomit blood. But the man believes that his Han is an ordinary person who cannot even imagine the power of a great master of the first level. The prince's subordinate is going to kill all the remaining ones in turn. The little prince became enthusiastic again, because before that he had completely forgotten that the great master has body protection. The aristocrat provokes Han to strike. In his own words, he hints at the futility of Han's soldiers and suggests that the latter should wait for his end. The hero comes forward, preparing to present a new surprise to the guests. The father-in-law is very tense. He knows that the hallmark of a great master is the protection of Kai. While the master is using it, even a very sharp weapon will not be able to penetrate his defense. The words of a relative do not stop Han. He shows everyone the third gift. A sharp flash of light blinds everyone present. When they open their eyes, they find themselves on a field consisting of squares. The great master is surprised to find himself on the chessboard. Vuxu immediately remembers that her husband chose people who know how to play chess. The girl is surprised that Han chose people for this trap. The hero starts talking. He claims that this party has only one trick. He also knows that the great master will be able to break this board without any problems. So the guy separates him from everyone present. Stone objects begin to fall on the great master from all sides. But his protection saves him. The man begins to get bored with these tricks of the son-in-law. He is confident that his body is indestructible under the protection of Kai. Several more blocks are falling on Qin Heng, in which he sees no threat. This time the attack has a different look. Several hammers fall on each other, testing the protection of the great master. It withstands, but the hammers continue their onslaught. The last blow dispels the Kai defense. Qin Heng takes serious damage. The little prince grabs his head. He's in a real panic. The leader of the Yang family is surprised that the Kai defense has broken. Vuxu is also impressed by this. The hero also explains that this attack was not a simple hammer. It turns out that it was a nail, the strength of which depended on the strength of the Kai of the great master. That is, the more Qin Heng resisted this force, the harder it hit him. The great master spits out a blood clot. He is still trapped. He begins to strike randomly, hoping to use brute force to get out of this trap. He manages to do it. However, as soon as he returned to the real world, a huge number of long needles flew into him. The great master reflected most of them, but one piece of iron was able to pass through his perception. It landed right in the man's right eye. While Qin Heng is trying to recover, Han is already preparing to finish everything. He knows that the real murder always happens secretly. The attack falls on the little prince. The aristocrat asks not to kill him, but at the same time demands that Qin Heng protect him. The great master is showered with several insults from the employer. It turns out that all this time the great master was trying to kill the little prince. The Yang family occupied 4 thrones nearby. Watching this spectacle, the main character asks his wife about whether she is still angry at him or not. The girl honestly admits that she is angry. Han holds out the grapes to her, trying to make amends, and then announces the start of the next game. Several soldiers pounce on the great master. Qin Heng falls to his knees, leaning on the column with his left hand. He's breathing hard. The little prince is lying on the floor, covering his head. Sweat runs down the guy's face. He fears for his life, but there are no wounds on him. The great master is covered in bruises. He doesn't have a right eye. The man was very tired. The little prince is terrified. He realized that the great master was defeated. The father-in-law is amazed by his son-in-law's tactical skills. The head of the Yang family admits that an ordinary 30 fighters would not be able to do anything to such a strong opponent. Giant Han stands in front of 2 guests, who are unable to get up from their knees. He asks if they are happy with the gifts. Qin Heng admits that he greatly underestimated his son-in-law. During his life, the great master buried a huge number of enemies, so he did not expect that a boy would lead him. The main character notices that his enemy is not timid. The mercenary has a will of steel, and his body is able to withstand hundreds of knives. This is a real rarity. The guy regrets that Qin Heng got the wrong owner. The great master had already realized that he had lost the battle, so he decided to clarify one detail with his enemy. Killing the guests clearly won't please the emperor. Why, then, is Han not afraid of his anger? The main character, from the very beginning, did not intend to kill the little prince and the great master. The guy is sure that today everyone will be happy, and the aristocrat will leave the snow-covered city with beautiful beauties. The mercenary laughs, admitting that his enemy's strategy was deeply thought out. This delights the man, but Qin Heng also understands that Giant Han is a very dangerous enemy. Such an enemy cannot be left alive. Gathering all his strength for the last dash, he breaks away, intending to kill the hero even at the cost of his own life. Such reckless behavior greatly surprises Han. The head of the Young family and Rukshu notice that this is very bad. Han will not be able to withstand the last blow of the Great Master, being at the 7th level of Kai collection. The hero swears he would no longer be able to escape from the Great Master's attack. The mercenary is going to stop the enemy at any cost, even at the cost of his life. Han gathers all his will into a fist. He does not retreat, preparing to take the blow of his opponent. The Great Master is already preparing to strike a decisive blow, but something went wrong. The man's hand freezes a few centimeters from Han's face, after which the Great Master falls to the floor. The hero exhales, and Ryukyu notices that Qin Heng used the power of his soul, which is why the latter was severely crippled, being on the verge of destruction. Ms. Young runs up to the hero who has fallen to the ground. She's very worried about him. Giant Han reassures his wife, stating that he is fine. At the same time, the head of the house wonders what happened. The little prince falls to the 5th point. He's scared. There is panic in his eyes. The girl wants to end the aristocrat, but her son-in-law stops her, reminding her of his old words. Anyone who tries to hurt her will be killed without exception. The hero is going to personally end the little prince. Han finds the strength to get to his feet. The hero slowly approaches the little prince. He picks up a sword from the ground, which he is going to use for its intended purpose. The aristocrat is trying to appeal to the voice of reason of his enemy. He reminds him that the death of such an influential person like him will lead to the destruction of the entire city. Han approaches the little prince, then raises the weapon over his head, preparing to finish him off. The aristocrat makes a last attempt to resist. Since he couldn't solve everything by talking, he grabs a blade lying nearby. The boy directs him at Han, intending to kill him for disobedience. Giant Han turns out to be faster than the little prince. With a quick swipe, he cuts through the aristocrat's flesh, whose body falls to the ground. After that, the hero throws the weapon to the ground. He wants to continue the banquet, which his wife agrees with. Ryukyu is very impressed by her husband's actions. The bodies of the little prince and the Great Master are taken out of the room in the morning. At the same time, a man who looks like a little prince goes on a journey. He moves into the carriage, holding 2 beauties by the waist. This is being watched by the Young family. One of the accompanying representatives of the fair sex asks the little prince not to hurry. The locals respectfully bow to the aristocrat. Someone from the crowd notices a beautiful chest among the things of the little prince. He assumes that it is a gift to the young gentleman from the city. Another resident of the city understands that this is a forced measure. He also sympathizes with the chief of the city. The Young family is watching all this from the height of the stone wall of the city. Giant Han notices that already in the territory of Tian County, the little prince is being attacked, which will cause him to lose all his treasures. The hand of the head of the city falls on the shoulder of the hero. The head of the Young family thanks his son-in-law for his work. He admits that without Han, he would hardly have been able to negotiate with the little prince. The hero thanks his father-in-law for the praise. The guy notes that he had to do this for 2 reasons. Firstly, he is now a member of the Young family. Secondly, the little prince had his eye on Ryukyu, which greatly displeased Han. All this was the reason why the aristocrat had to die. The mother-in-law notes that the son-in-law created a real miracle, because he managed to defeat the Great Master only with the help of 30 fighters. The woman wants to know what kind of reward he wants for such a feat. Han notices that he really has something to ask his mother-in-law and father-in-law. The head of the city declares that he is ready to fulfill any request of his son-in-law. A man is ready to throw into the fire or climb a mountain if necessary. The hero also explains that during the battle with the Great Master, he used forbidden techniques to heal injuries. The guy wants to find grass that grows only in the mountains. The father-in-law begins to worry about his son-in-law, because the Black Mountain is a very unfriendly place. There are many monsters on it, and various bandits have settled there, some of whom call themselves the Black Wind. The man is afraid that Han may lose his life there, so he clarifies whether it is necessary. Giant Han declares that this is a forced measure. In the battle with the Great Master, he lost all his strength. If he doesn't find the yin and yang flower, then he may have problems. There is a fear in Ryukyu's eyes. The hero says that he can be an ordinary warrior, but his cultivation will become even more elegant if he gets this herb. The hero's wife is very worried about his life. He believes that such a journey alone would be too dangerous, so the girl wants to accompany her betrothed. Han also resisted such a decision of his wife. He believes that they have solved only one problem. The Zhang and Lin families are plotting behind the backs of the Yang family, so they should not be frivolous. He wants Ryukyu to stay in town. The hero gives the girl 2 books with rare techniques used by 30 soldiers who defeated the Great Master. The girl is surprised that the guy cares so much about her and her loved ones. Han does not understand this attitude towards himself, because he believes that he is just protecting his home. He gently takes one of his wife's curls, looking straight into her eyes. Ryuxiu recognizes her husband and is ready to go with him. However, Han tries to finish for her, hinting at the bridal room. In fact, the girl wasn't talking about that. Han couldn't read the girl's thoughts. Ryuxiu is mad at him. She wanted to go with him to the giant family home to meet his parents. This only saddens the hero. The guy notices that the relationship between him and Ryuxiu does not stand still. They are slowly getting closer. Han notices that he has a chance to expand the boundaries of their relationship after returning. The hero collects things, gets on a horse and sets off on a journey. He is escorted by Ryuxiu and Sang-er. They both want the guy to come back safe and sound. The Black Mountains are covered with extremely dense vegetation, among which many Yuan beasts are hiding. The deeper you go into the forest, the stronger the power of these animals. Han gets to these mountains on his steed. He came to this place for training. The guy plans to train for the next month. To make the effect of training better, he is going to feed his soul with an elixir. This will increase his strength and allow him to enter the inner part of the mountain. Han concentrates his forces, preparing to get down to business. The hero checked his life force reserve. It has become so great that it overwhelms him. He decides to reduce the flow of energy so as not to attract large monsters. Here the hero feels threatened. He turns around just in time. A red fire leopard attacks him. Han has to jump off his horse to get away from the monster's lunge. The guy notices that the red fiery leopard is a monster of the first level. This is an ideal opponent for a 7th level cultivator. It turns out that if the Yuan beast and the warrior are equal in strength, then the monster will emerge victorious from the fight if the person is not a martial artist. It is for this reason that very few warriors are willing to fight one-on-one with a beast equal to them in level. Han wants to master the skills of martial arts with a sword in order to move on to the technique of 7 returns to the Yuan sword. This is one of the goals of his trip. There are several steps that the hero will have to go through. The first step is the foundation of the art of swordsmanship. To develop this skill, it will take about 10,000 strikes. Han strikes the Yuan beast, but his weapon does not hurt the monster. The guy notices that the physique of his enemy is more powerful than that of the same Yuan beasts of the first level. That is why this opponent is best suited for honing the art of swordsmanship. The red fire leopard only growls, preparing to pounce on the cultivator again. Han's brutal training begins. He begins to strike blow after blow at his enemy. After the 207th strike, the Yuan beast begins to run away. The hero rushes in pursuit. The monster does not understand the motives of this man, so he intends to gnaw through his throat. The battle continues. It took the guy 300 blows to take down his enemy. Han notices that his arm hurts a lot after such an intense workout. He takes out a core from the Yuan beast, noting that it is too big. The core of the element is a beast energy crystal. The Yuan beast's practice is completely dependent on the element core in its head. As the strength increases, the core of the element will be larger, and the power of the element inside will become more refined. As a result, the higher the rank of the beast, the more valuable the core, but the energy crystal is extremely strong. A martial artist won't be able to directly absorb it. If you still take the risk and absorb it, then it will go to the evil of the master, so these crystals are used for alchemical purposes or for weapons. In the second case, it is invested in it as a refining material. Only all these problems do not concern the main character. Han confidently breaks the crystal, easily absorbing the power. The reason for this is the elixir of luck, which reduces the risk factor to 0. The guy reaches the 8th level of Kai purification. This surprises the hero, who clearly did not expect such an effect from a simple Yuan beast. Han notices that it will be advantageous to hunt primitive Yuan beasts, since they are so effective. The guy got enthusiastic. He went ahead in search of new prey. He still has 9,700 strokes left to perform. This day the monster of the Black Mountain will be remembered for a long time. They fled in terror from a man who was eager to chop them into hundreds of small pieces. After a while, the hero absorbs another crystal, after which his level rises to the 9th. He easily assimilates the power of the beast, but the guy feels that something is wrong. A yellow aura bursts out of the guy, which forms a dragon. This happens only for a few moments, after which the power is absorbed into the hero's body. Han is in shock. He didn't expect that he would get a body that is an ancient stream of the dragon bloodline. Giant Han realizes that his body has enormous potential. Young Kingchen has the body of a fiery phoenix, but it is not on a par with the body of a dragon. The hero thinks. He understands that the energy concentration is too low. If he hadn't started absorbing Yuan beast cores, then he wouldn't have revealed the secret of his bloodline and his life. Han realizes that dragon blood will be needed to awaken the dragon's power, but it is very dangerous. The guy tries to drive such thoughts out of his head. The current level of the guy's strength is such that it's too early for him to even think about fighting a dragon. First, you need to improve your personal strength. The awakening of the bloodline is still far away. Han decides to focus on finding an elixir that will help him stabilize his soul. The guy finally mastered the basic sword technique. He honed it to perfection. Now he can start practicing the technique of 7 returns to the Yuan sword. The hero decides to act as follows. He will hunt low-level evil spirits until he reaches the next level of the absolute top. In parallel with this, the guy will move into the mountains to find a cure. Giant Han moves through a dense forest, but suddenly he begins to feel someone else's life force. His instinct starts screaming about danger. The hero draws his sword, preparing for battle. Mentally, he notices that his opponent has vital energy that corresponds to the strength of a great master. A few kopecks are flying towards the guy. With confident movements, he beats off almost all of them. One throwing weapon almost grazed the hero. Han falls to the 5th point, and the weapon is stabbed next to him. The guy notices that the enemy's weapon is poison. Han gets angry, demanding that the opponent either show his face or leave. A man comes out of the shadow of a tree. The hero begins to sweat, because the enemy's level is very high. The man is at the 4th level of the Great Master. The unknown notices that the hero himself has reached only the 9th level. He wonders how the guy managed to evade his attack. The Great Master knows about the terrible reputation of the hero, but notices that in fact everything is not so simple. He laughs in response, praising the kid's eyesight, and answering that he is an old butcher, one of the 9 masters of the Black Wind. The hero is a little surprised when he says that he is a butcher. He recalls a conversation with the head of the city before leaving. Each of the 9 Black Wind leaders has their own nickname. One man was nicknamed the Butcher. Rumor has it that this guy is extremely cruel, and he likes to use a giant sword to chop off the heads of others and kick them like a ball. No one knows how many people died under his great sword. The above is taken from the Yan Tianjai Black Mountain Experience Guide. Jun Han decides to clarify the situation, whether he went to the mountain specifically for him. The butcher laughs, noting that the son-in-law of the city lord's mansion is really a smart kid because he really was ordered to bring his head. These words strain the hero because he does not quite understand what it means to be ordered. He believed that the leader of their Black Wind is equal with the other 9 brothers, so he clarifies what could give him such an order. The guy immediately assumes that someone is behind the Black Wind. Suspicion falls on the Lin family and the Zhang family. The opponent takes off abruptly, raising the sword over his head and emphasizing that the interlocutor has caught him. The butcher also says that it's not at all surprising that Big Brother said not to talk to him, but just to kill him. Moving away from the powerful vertical cut, the hero mentally makes a note that the enemy is very strong, but he does not shine with his mind. The butcher's attack cuts a tree behind the guy's back, who immediately declares that if it hits him, then his beautiful wife will then remain a widow. The opponent is amazed that this child was able to evade his blow. Tongues of fire envelop the man's sword. He takes off and repeats his attack at a higher speed. Jun Han doesn't have time to dodge, so he takes a hit on the block. When their weapons touch, he feels incredible pressure from the enemy, recognizing that he has just terrible strength. From the force of the blow, the son-in-law is sent into the air. He is grouped, thanks to which he calmly lands on his feet, but the problems have not gone away. His hand begins to tremble with tension. Jun Han begins to analyze. His enemy is a warrior with simply enormous strength, and it will be difficult for someone like him to resist, no matter how hard it is to admit it, but he has no chance. The butcher also notes that even his excellent wife did not kill their brothers from the Black Wind, and he should not worry, because when Jun Han dies, he will allow thousands of brothers in the village to take care of her instead of him. He even promises the guy that the girl won't feel lonely, so he doesn't have to worry about her. Perspiration appears on the forehead of the hero, and the look becomes serious. He once again faces a dangerous enemy in a sword fight. The enemy claims that the little one is looking for death, because there is no other way to call the fact that a cultivator of the 9th level dared to fight with him. Jun Han ignores his words, completely surrendering to the fight. His attacks become faster and more impetuous. The hero makes a very unusual decision. Jumping over the huge carcass of the butcher, he begins to run away from him. The same one is a little surprised that the guy wants to escape, but quickly comes to his senses, starting the pursuit. The master takes out his bow, starting to aim at the hero jumping on the branches of trees. When he releases the arrow, Jun Han reacts in time by jumping to the side, after which he begins to tease his enemy, claiming that he slept with his mom. He pretends that the big guy is really chasing his dad, so he declares that he does not need such an old son. The butcher shouts that the boy has found his way to death, because he is running straight into the depths, where no one can save him today. Mentally, the man doubts this, because everything looks as if the child purposefully kept the way inside. The master stresses that after he kills him, Then he will express his condolences to his wife and let her see how big his sword is. Junhan, dodging the enemy's eaves, notices that he did not want him to run into the mountains. He reads the killer's words between the lines, highlighting the key thought from them. The butcher swears, noticing that this guy really dared to break into the inner circle. The master mentally asks if the boy does not know that without the strongest mentor, there is no chance of survival. The butcher continues the pursuit, but after a while the hero jumps off the branches, stopping a few meters from the pursuer. The master decides to find out if the boy knows what to be afraid of there. The hero admits that these depths are really dangerous, and if he had said this earlier, he would have run in the other direction. The butcher breaks off towards Junhan, shouting that it's too late to regret it, because now he's going to die. The hero concentrates energy in his hand, after which he releases 100,000 volts of energy into the enemy. He understands that the target had a hidden weapon all this time. The guy's powerful energy flow is transformed into a bird. The master mentally swears, because this is a thunderbird. He doesn't understand where she came from here. The next moment there is a powerful surge of energy. A few feathers fall to the ground, and a huge thunderbird descends in front of the butcher, in whose eyes an incredible rage rages. The master realizes that he did not get involved in a childish way. He tries to justify himself by saying that he didn't want to kill her cub, and it's all that guy. He points to the place behind him, but there is no one there anymore. The parent, having concentrated a monstrous amount of energy, attacks the master, whose pupils narrow to the size of a needle. Junhan, who has escaped from the affected area, hears the sick cry of the butcher, who has felt the full force of lightning on his skin. The hero hopes that the butcher will die from the paws of the thunderbird, and if he still survives, then he should wait for their next meeting, in which Junhan will show him what happens to those who dare to insult him. At this moment, a second-level monster, an earth storm, lands next to the guy. He starts to run away quickly, not believing that he is so attractive to monsters. Junhan runs away from the monster for his life. In an instant, the pursuer stops abruptly. The guy is amazed that the ferocious bear does not dare to enter here. He understands that something is really wrong in this valley. He begins to move forward, not forgetting to compliment his pursuer. It turns out to be very quiet inside. Now he has no way to go back, because the bear is squatting at the entrance and waiting for him. So far, he won't be able to leave this place. After studying the surroundings, Junhan does not see any danger, so he decides to start practicing the sword fighting skill and the body fighting skill. In the 7 Yuan sword returns technique, each attack generates a layer of dark power, which is equivalent to doubling it. The man who created the martial art believed that 7 was the pinnacle. In fact, after the 7-fold, there are 8-fold and 9-fold stages. After comprehending the 9-fold return to the Yuan sword, the warrior passes into the states of the peak of desoction, in other words, the state of great completeness. This is the simplest method of cultivation, because you just need to chop, being in a special state, to make 1,000, and then 10,000 blows. Strive to stimulate dark energy. Although he hates Yang Qingcheng, he has to admit that she is indeed a martial artist. She may have an unusual fighting technique, but it's not that simple. Continuing his training, Junhan asks himself if this 9-fold return to the Yuan sword is so difficult to practice. He cannot believe that there is no easier way to practice martial arts with a sword that can be used every day. After cutting the stone, the guy is amazed at this power. He assumes that this is the heavy dark force. The voice of the hero and the noise from his practice awakens an ancient creature. A loud roar is heard around, and the body of a colossal dragon appears out of the water. Junhan covers his face from the spray, but the pupils of his eyes narrow to the size of a needle from shock. It is difficult for the hero to believe what he saw, because in this remote valley he encountered a dragon. This is an emperor in black armor, having the appearance of a 4th-level sub-dragon. After seeing the creature, Junhan admits that among all kinds of sub-dragons, the combat effectiveness of the emperor in black armor is definitely among the top 3. The fact that the dragon was born with the power of the 4th level does not go away from the attentive gaze of the guy, so he has a question: how old is this creature? Here Junhan realizes that if he can get the blood of this dragon, then his blood will be able to awaken, but there is an important nuance. The 4th level is equal in strength to a great master, and with the terrifying fighting power of the Imperial Dragon in black armor, even a first-class warrior is unlikely to be able to cope with him. The hero hides behind a stone, trying to forget about it, because now all this does not matter, because life is much more important. The guy assumes that the bear at the entrance should have already escaped. Suddenly, the dragon lets out a loud roar, attracting the hero's attention. Then he notices that a beautiful girl in a hood and armor is hovering next to the dragon's head. He understands that this is a first-class master. Any one of them could easily pinch him to death. But if he could get the blood of the black-armored Imperial Dragon, 3 scenarios appear in Junhan's mind. In the first, he attacks the dragon and kills it before he can save the girl. Secondly, he flaunts after defeating the dragon in front of the beauty, and at the last outcome they will both die from the clutches of the dragon. The hero admits that wealth and honor are achieved at risk, so he decides to cheer for the beauty. He decides that it's too early to stick out of hiding, but it's better to watch. If he had a chance to get the blood of the black-armored Imperial Dragon, then he would immediately run out. At this time, the girl turns to the dragon, stating that he broke out of the Black Mountain and attacked the military city, thereby violating the agreement on the Bloody Blade. The ancient creature growls in response, expressing obvious dissatisfaction with such claims in its address. At this time, Junhan is trying to figure out what it is all about. He assumes that the Bloodblade Treaty can control the Yuan beast. However, he has never heard of the Bloodblade Alliance. The girl attacks a huge dragon, taking advantage of its clumsiness and large dimensions. The ancient monster is also aware of its weaknesses, so it closes off the enemy's circular attacks with its large wings. Junhan notices that the scaly armor of this dragon is so strong that it is in no way inferior in strength to Black Eye. The guy is a little amazed by the calmness of the girl during the battle with such a strong opponent, whose attacks are very fast and powerful. When the giant's paw has almost overtaken a first-class master, it disappears from its place with the help of its power. Once on the dragon's head, she delivers a powerful blow, plunging her sword into his head. After that, she immediately breaks the distance with a jump. The combat dragon does not stay away. He quickly turns around, striking with his tail. This sends the girl flying, leaving a huge crater in the ground. The first-class master spits out blood, getting to his feet. Her gaze still exudes determination. The ancient monster roars loudly, and Junhan admits that he is really damn strong. He also doesn't understand how the dragon has awakened. The hero does not want to wait several years for the creature to fall asleep again. The dragon also sends a powerful stream of fire towards the girl. He lost one eye after the last attack of the opponent. The latter is preparing to parry the opponent's attack. The first-class master is pierced by a sharp pain that does not allow her to defend herself from the second attack of the dragon. He lowers his clawed paw on her. Junhan believes that everything is already over, so you need to run away to save your life, and that beauty will soon die. The strength of this black-armored Imperial Dragon is too great, so he can't help himself. Suddenly, the water in the form of a whirlpool wraps around the entire fire of the dragon, which is next to the beauty, and then a powerful pulse of energy turns into a sharp cone that pierces the head of an ancient monster. The hero's eyes are ready to leave their orbits, because he does not understand how the girl suddenly became so strong. Here a strange blue sign appears in the forehead of a first-class master. Presumably, this is a sign of life. The blonde sharply demands that he get out. It is not entirely clear to whom she is saying this. Then Junhan realizes that things are bad for him because he was obviously discovered. He hides behind a tree, realizing that the probability that she will beat him now is 90%. The most likely forecast does not come true. The blonde falls into the water, losing consciousness. The hero exhales a sigh of relief, after which he begins to hesitate whether to help her or not. If he doesn't help, then she will die, and otherwise she may wake up and want to kill him again. He clenches his fingers into fists, and then jumps into the water. Junhan just can't bear to watch the beauty die. Grabbing the blonde, he floats to the surface, then pulls her out of the water, starting to catch his breath. The beauty turns out to be in a very seductive position, which causes a young man to have very exciting thoughts. Junhan dives into the water again, because the beauty is still not going anywhere, and now is the time to pick up the reward. The corpse of the Imperial Dragon in the black armor of the treasure polo. Of particular value is its essence, blood and core. Truly, they are absolutely priceless. Here the hero notices that the dragon core at the peak of the 4th level, worth millions of gold coins, has disappeared. He decides not to dwell on it at the moment, and get to the blood. The guy notices that the ancient creature really fell asleep. It's even funny that he doesn't need a pillow. After collecting his reward for the risk, Junhan climbs to the surface. He had already built a fire in advance to keep warm. The guy immediately takes off his clothes, deciding to deal with another problem first. At this time, the blonde is delirious. The hero urges her to forget about it, and consider it her reward for killing the Imperial Dragon in black armor for him. He puts the beauty on her side, saying that she should be glad that she met him, otherwise there would be scars on her beautiful and snow-white back. Junhan applies herbs to blonde's wounds. While the hero applies medicinal herbs to the girl's wound, she abruptly lies down on her stomach, putting her hand on his leg. The beauty has practically no clothes on. The guy turns away, trying to resist the animal of desire. He understands perfectly well that no man can resist in such a situation. Besides, the girl squeezes his leg harder. When Junhan finishes with the treatment, he abruptly pulls away from the girl, assuming that this is the strength of a first-class master. The guy was on the verge, but he's a family man, so he can't cheat on his wife. Having dealt with the primary problem, the hero decides to get down to business. Junhan takes a lotus pose, makes an incision on a vessel with blood, and then begins to absorb it. A powerful stream of energy rushes into his body. The hero's pupils narrow to the size of a needle. He begins to breathe heavily, believing that it's over because he has absorbed too much at once. Junhan fell to his knees, feeling an unprecedented pain from the powerful energy that swept through his entire body. It was so painful that the guy did not believe that he would survive. The loud roar of the hero is carried around. An incredible force is bursting out of his body. His blood is awakening. This is the purification of dragon blood. The guy grows a tail, and the torso is covered with dragon scales. The nails turn black, turning into claws, and after a couple more moments, the wings open behind the back. The eyes acquire a red hue with an elongated black pupil. When the pain goes away, Junhan admits that he expected the awakening of the blood to bring him such a benefit, because this time he really got something very valuable. Right out of the hand, the hero releases fire into the rock. This causes a powerful explosion. A few stone fragments hit his scales. He is amazed at his strength. The guy spreads his wings and soars into the sky. Junhan admits that his strength, speed, and defense have all improved several times, and with these wings he can fly and become the most perfect emperor. The only thing he cares about is coming home, because it might scare his wife. Looking at his appearance in the reflection of the water, the hero realizes that in this case he will not be able to glue girls. Returning to the shore, he concentrates, after which he takes the opposite form. It turns out to be very painful, so he wonders if this will really happen every time he uses the power of the dragon. Now this is the Tongmai realm of the first level. Dragon formation is a 5-step cultivation base that is more perfect than the human form. His blood connection with the dragon turned out to be more useful than he had hoped. Then he remembers about the beauty, deciding to visit her. The blonde turns out to be behind him. She gives him a very unfriendly look. Beauty's demands that he roll, otherwise he will be lying right on the ground. The hero notices that the girl woke up so early, but didn't tell him anything, so he asks if she didn't want to look at him and use his body. Ignoring the behavior of the girl, who begins to shake with pent-up anger, Junhan informs that he has a wife, so if she really likes him, then he will still have to go home and ask his wife about it, so he clarifies if she can wait a little. The blonde finally loses her composure, prescribing a slap in the guy's face and declaring that he only thinks about various obscenities. She demands that he give her the clothes before talking. The guy goes into the water, from where he shouts to the interlocutor that she can hit wherever she wants, but not in the face. The blonde also emphasizes that he was staring at her back, and she has not yet paid him off for it, and he dares to bring new troubles on himself. Junhan admits that he is guilty, so he clarifies whether they will be even if he also undresses to the goal. He swims to the shore, but the blonde puts her hand on his head, starting to drown and noting that if he did not have a dragon bloodline, then for his words, she would have killed him a long time ago. The guy begs to let him get up. Some time passes. Junhan changes clothes, noticing that the beauty no longer spies on him, although he knows that his abs, biceps, and deltoids are simply charming. The blonde calls him to silence, and then asks his name. Mentally, she wants this person to join them, because the blood of the primordial dragon would be very useful to the alliance. Having finished with the clothes, the hero goes out to the interlocutor, introducing himself and already asking her name. A representative of the fair sex claims that he does not need to know her name, because now she is asking questions. She asks if he is ready to join the Bloodblade Alliance and become a member. The guy admits that he has never heard of such an alliance. The blonde notices that with his outlook, this is not surprising. The Bloodblade Alliance is a major organization in the Tianwu continent. There are branches of the Bloodblade Alliance all over the mainland. They have a long time to guard and protect the continent from external enemies. The alliance has members chosen from outside, and they only need to complete the tasks issued by the Bloodblade Alliance to receive contribution points. There are also internal members who have remained loyal to the Bloodblade Alliance all their lives. Both of them have a common standard. The higher the level, the more resources you can get. Junhan understands that it sounds like a powerful organization, and now there are so many enemies, so his family needs support. The hero informs that he will join them, but since he likes freedom, he will not enter the inner composition, so he immediately decides to find out their rules for the outer composition. The blonde notices that it is not so easy to enter the internal structure. She also answers the interlocutor's question, saying that the Bloodblade Alliance never restricts the freedom of the external composition, and since he agreed to join, she will give him a black iron badge. Without a badge, the guy notices that this is the lowest level. He becomes interested in what level of beauty. It is of internal composition and has a level of red copper. This amazes Junhan, because it turns out that a first-class master is at the level of red copper. Then how strong should people be at the last 4 levels? A representative of the fair sex rises from her seat, noting that now the guy knows what value he is to them, and that now everyone will know what you are by this sign. Before leaving, the girl informs that in many cities of the Tianmu Empire there are branches of the Bloodblade Alliance. so the guy needs to visit one of them to officially register in their ranks. She hopes that he will continue to cope on his own, after which he disappears. Jun-han is amazed at her speed. Looking at the organization's badge, he realizes that this time he managed to get a lot of things, but the body of this imperial dragon did not budge in any way. Most likely, it can only exist here. Coming out of the cave, the bear, who has been waiting for him all this time, pounces on the hero. Jun-han is covered with dragon scales, and his eyes turn scarlet. The bear's eyes almost leave their orbits. He bows his head, acknowledging the strength of the cultivator. The hero pats him on the head, instructing him to guard the entrance, not to let people and human beasts in here, and not to kill anyone here. After that, the guy goes on. In the next few days, he searched for a cure for his soul in the mountains, and began to train the shadow wind movement exercise. When facing human beasts below the 2nd level, he would take the lead in the battle to intemper the sword technique of the 9-fold return to the Yuan sword. On the 4th day, he finally won the yin-yang flower from the heavenly python. By the way, the heavenly cracking python is a Yuan beast of the 7th level, and after absorbing the heavenly python's spiritual core, he successfully broke through to the 2nd level of the Tongmai realm. The hero realized that he could create a medicine that could heal all the injuries of his soul, and then his soul would fully recover. One of the rarest types of masters is a spiritual master who cultivates souls. The soul master's method of battle is basically soul control. His defense is impossible to break through. Some powerful soul masters can also use their minds to cause other people to hallucinate. The father-in-law does not know about this method, although it could play into their hands. Jun-han decides to return home. Moving through the forest, the hero finds groups of people. He decides to eavesdrop on their conversation. One of the men notices that this boy simply could not survive in the depths of this forest. Another claims that the head of the 9 brothers wants to see his corpse, and the dogs cannot find his body in the depths of the forest because they are scared to death of this place. The 3rd member notices that if this kid really died, then Yang Ruxiu will become a widow and she will be very lonely. He emphasizes that he would have slept with this beauty and would have lived with her all his life. A friend says that he would not have lived with her for so long because she can squeeze him to death with her legs. Jun-han's eyes get bloodshot after these words. With one blow, he breaks the tree behind which he was hiding, attracting the attention of the group. Like some kind of demon, he flies up in the air. The guy asks if they are going to climb the mountain. One of the group recognizes the hero, noticing that they will receive a good reward for him. Another bandit asks his comrades to be on the alert, because he sees a threat in this child, but his words are not taken seriously, because the 9th master said that this child is still quite a brat, and Scar's brother has the 8th rank, so they have nothing to fear here. Jun-han asks how many people have been sent here. The very person who first recognized the guy does not understand why they should tell him this, because he is surrounded from all sides, so even taking the 9th level, he will not be able to compete with the great masters. The hero breaks forward, saying that this will not save them. He admits that at first he wanted to keep them alive, but now they have no other choice but to die. In an instant, Jun-han sweeps past a chatty man who doesn't even have time to react to him. A second later, a cry of pain is heard around, and the man loses his limbs. The hero's blade drips the blood of his enemy as he announces that he will chop everyone else into pieces, one by one. These words terrify everyone. The bearded man, who was not afraid of the guy, shouts for someone to give a signal faster, because they need to call more people here since their opponent is not a 9th level cultivator, but he is in the Tongmai kingdom. Jun-han notes that it's silly to think that they still have a chance. He is incredibly fast. He deals with all opponents, leaving the most cowardly alive. He asks him not to kill, falling to his knees. He says that 100 people were sent in total, and they divided into 10 teams to surround him from all sides. Jun-han notes that this information will be enough. He kills the last enemy from the squad with a quick cut, simultaneously lifting a signal rocket from the ground and launching it. At the new group of enemies who have arrived, Jun-han asks if his wife was really ambushed. It is important for him to know if they have any problems related to him. One of the enemies claims that the guy will ask his wife about it when he comes down. He swallows a strange pill, after which a pulse of energy emanates from his body. Jun-han breaks down to him, stating that there is no point in him dreaming of killing him even with this pill of rage. In a few moves, the hero deals with a strong enemy, but does not kill him. He puts his foot on his head, urging him to tell about where his wife is now and who gives them orders. The opponent is not going to tell him this, but calls him quite capable. It turns out that when he was caught, Yang Ruxiu took 10 people out of the city. All of them will soon come to an end because of Jun-han. Not hearing what he wanted, the guy drives the enemy's head into the ground, noting that if he is not going to talk, then he will find them himself and deal with them. Moving across a land drenched in the blood of his enemies, Jun-han declares that they dared to use him to trick his wife. They made him very angry. The corpses of the city guards are lying on a small hill. Yang Ruxiu is breathing heavily. There is a wound on the girl's arm, so she holds the weapon only with her right hand. The enemy offers to stop useless resistance because he just wants to ask her to walk to their house. The beauty clarifies whether Zhang Junhan is in the family home. She notes that their Zhang family colluded with bandits, and this time they really ran into trouble. Zhang Dong, who has the peak of the fourth boundary, pretends that he does not understand what is being said, because, in his opinion, the Black Vortex has always been the industry of the Zhang family. The man claims that the brothers have been polishing their spears for a long time, so today they will be able to test themselves for accuracy. He gives the command to his subordinates. Yan Ruxiu mentally swears that he will definitely save his husband. The girl urges the opponent to come closer if he wants to die. The crowd attacks the beauty, and Zhang Dong admits that he did not expect that Miss Yang's cultivation base would grow so quickly, because she already has the 5th level in the Tongmai kingdom. The man believes that Junhan is the traitor from the Jiang family, even if he tries, but his base is only at the 9th level, so he is not worthy of Ryuxiu. A representative of the fair sex claims that it is not for them to judge her husband. Zhang Dong admits that he does not understand how Junhan got the first beauty of the snow-covered city and why she protects him so much, but he still has more than 300 bandits, which the girl is unlikely to stand. The man abruptly opens his eyes. Miss Yang's spirit is not broken. Her life force is almost exhausted, and she can barely stand on her feet, but she still rushes into battle with them. Some respected fighter breaks forward, urging his brothers to follow him, and also be careful not to damage her perfect body, because they will still need it when they are tumbling with this beauty. Vuxu takes a powerful blow from the enemy on his sword. At this moment, the scoundrel reports that his brother killed Junhan. He offers to look at the girl on his hard trunk, because she should be so lonely. The girl does not believe that he is dead, but if it is true, then she wants them to bury him. One of the leaders of the bandits emphasizes that there is nothing good for Junhan, and the beauty only needs to wait, because he will let her feel a new world full of bliss. Zhang Dong notes that he did not expect the young city lord to be infatuated. The man declares that after they force Lord Yang to hand over his powers to them, they will send her directly to Junhan to the next world. But before that happens, his brothers from Black Wind will test the full power of their weapons on her, so they will see if she survives such blows. Before raising the sword, Yan Qi saw a divine immortal. The mountains began to howl with the voices of the dead. The bandits tried to figure out who it was. At that moment, Junhan appeared, who stated that since they dared to hurt his sweet wife, neither of them would survive tonight. Vuxiu trembled, not believing her eyes, because she really thought that he was dead. The hero notes that he cannot die so easily, and a person who could kill him has not yet been born in this world. Moving through the crowd of bandits who were in shock, Junhan maintained absolute calm. The butcher mentally did not understand how this was possible and how he was able to escape. The hero stared murderously at Zhang Dong, who began to break out in cold sweat from the terrifying appearance of the guy. His wife screamed at him, asking him to leave so as not to die. The same man replied that where his wife is, he is there, because where has it been seen that a man runs away from a sword threatening his wife? Vuxiu's lips twitched in a modest smile, and a blush appeared on her cheeks. This speech was very sweet. At this time, Zhang Dong came forward, demanding his subordinates to take action, because they were clearly gathered here today not to listen to love speeches. A butcher breaks down to the hero, who even wonders how the boy managed to survive, although there is nothing terrible about it, because today he will take his head. Another thug calls to surround Junhan and kill them all together, just as the 9th master said. Miss Yang was very worried about her husband, so she asked him to run away. The guy said that Ryukshu should not worry about him, but rather take care of himself. Taking his weapon out of its scabbard, he took the lives of several enemies who tried to come to him from behind with a quick horizontal swipe. In the next instant, the butcher unleashed a blow of monstrous force on Junhan, declaring that he was lucky to escape alive from 100 people in this circle, and now he must die. The hero blocks the blow of the big guy with one hand, asking if he didn't notice anything. Then fear appears in the enemy's only eye, and droplets of sweat begin to flow down his face. Zhang Dong is amazed that Junhan has managed to reach the 2nd level Tongmai realm. Those present begin to panic. One of them decides to return. The butcher is amazed that the enemy struck ahead of time. It was a blow with the hilt of a sword. After that, the hero reported that he had killed the entire 100 people. The opponent, having spat out a huge clot of blood, simply could not believe in such a thing. A friend rushes to the aid of the 9th brother. He is going to strike in a jump using a red flame weapon. Junhan escapes from a series of enemy attacks using Shadow Tread. The stricken enemy only has time to ask who he is when the hero inflicts a fatal wound on him, noting that he is not very good with a spear. Zhang Dong doesn't understand where this child's growth rate came from, and why he was able to go from 7th grade Kai gathering to 2nd grade Tongmai realm in just one day. The man sees this kid as a big threat, so he needs to be killed, otherwise his Zhang family's plan may have problems because of him. Zhang Dong declares that whoever kills him first will sleep with his wife. These words motivate a crowd of bandits. Ryukshu breaks down to her husband, wanting to help, but the only surviving guard stops her, claiming that they can't go into battle with them, so it's better to take the opportunity to return and report everything. Miss Yang turns to the subordinate, stating that there are 300 mountain bandits there, so Junhan just can't stand against them alone. She decides to be where he is, and then lets the subordinate go to the city to report everything himself. When the bandits attack the hero, dragon features appear on his body, and 2 scarlet flames light up in his eyes. The bandits are screaming in horror, not understanding what is happening. Junhan soars into the sky on his dragon wings. His tail develops behind his back, and black claws grow on his fingers. In a clear voice, he assures all enemies that today they will die without pain. The eyes of the subordinate Ryukshu are rounded, because this is the 7th-rank kingdom of Tongmai. At this time, Zhang Dong admits that he heard that the bloodline of the primordial dragon ancestor appeared in the giant family a long time ago. He always thought it was just a legend, not expecting it to be true. The man strengthens in his head the idea that this person needs to be killed, but only he does not know how to do it now. The next moment, Junhan unleashes a stream of fire towards the bandits. They begin to run away, realizing that they cannot win in any way. Many are trying to understand how their enemy became such a monster. Having dealt with a huge crowd of enemies, Junhan descends to the ground, walking over the corpses and being completely drenched in blood. He approaches his wife's only surviving subordinate, asking him where she is. He is trembling all over, being in no condition to give in response. At this moment, from the top of the slope, Zhang Dong gives the guy a choice, either his life or hers. Junhan did not have time to give an answer, as the man stated that he chose the first. The hero asks how he dares. Mentally, he tries to figure out what to do. Junhan noticed that the enemy had used the death pill. She helped him break through the 9th rank. He knew that she was burning his essence and blood, so the enemy did not have long left. Zhang Dong claims that he will last long enough to kill him because the Zhang family sheltered him when he was a beggar, so it's time to repay them for all the good they did. Ryukshu also asks her husband to leave her here, because they want to get the seal of the city lord, and this is now more important than her life. Hearing these words, the man pushes Miss Yang off the cliff. Junhan takes off from his seat, soaring into the air. He catches his woman in the air, but the enemy stabs the opened hero in the back, declaring that this woman is his weakness. The guy starts the descent with the girl in his arms. Blood flies out of his mouth, and he himself is amazed that he could actually break through the protection of his Dragon May armor. He admits that this is a worthy force for the 9th level of the Tongmai realm. Landing on the ground, the hero lowers his wife. Zhang Dong is already moving towards him, noting that the guy can't fly now, so it's time to get rid of him for the sake of the Zhang family. Taking the enemy's blow on his sword, Junhan flies back from the force of the blow. His body is coming out of the dragon form. The opponent with a joyful cry pounces on him, already anticipating the taste of victory, but the hero begins to parry his attacks using a 9-fold return to the Yuan sword. Zhang Dong's strength is amazing, but so far the guy manages to restrain his onslaught. An opponent willing to sacrifice his life claims that the dragon's bloodline is worthless in front of his current strength. Ryukshu watches her husband's battle with a sinking heart. The hero is blocking an attack that passed very close. It becomes difficult for him, so he wonders how long he will last. When a guy is a little distracted by his thoughts, the opponent gets him. A deep wound in the abdomen causes Junhan to fall to the ground. The wife's pupils narrow to the size of a needle, and her mouth opens from shock. The hero reaches for the sword, realizing that it's bad. Zhang Dong says he can now safely meet with the owner of the house. He is about to finish the guy off, but Miss Yang comes to his defense. She takes the enemy's blow on herself, but with her current strength, she cannot compete with this person. From the power of the blow, it goes into the rock. Junhan rises to his feet with a belligerent roar, pouncing on the enemy, who does not understand why they continue to resist him if everything is already over. The hero uses a double 9-fold return to the Yuan sword. The guy's speed is reaching a new level, which Zhang Dong does not expect. Fear and disbelief in what is happening freezes in his eyes. As soon as the enemy is defeated, Junhan falls to his knees, trying to hold on with the sword. Ryukshu breaks down to him. The guard who witnessed everything happening realizes with shock that his sword beheaded a cultivator of the Tongmai kingdom of the 9th level. The girl supports the guy by the hand, allowing him not to fall, and Junhan admits that he did not expect her to take a risk for him. The hero exhales with relief, noticing that everything is over. Ryukshu breaks away from him, ordering a subordinate to find clothes for her husband. The girl blushes all over from the words of the young man, and the same mentally asks if she thought he was bothering her. Junhan declares that his wife is very nice. He wonders if she will allow him to approach her. Miss Yang holds out her palm, saying that the scoundrel must understand everything correctly. sitting on a horse together. The hero grabbed the girl by the waist, arguing that he had too serious an injury. Ryukshu asks him to sit up straight, but the guy assures that his wife's riding skills are really very good, because she does it so steadily and rhythmically, and then he admits that he feels very bad, so he sits like that. When the couple get home, the first person to meet them is Xianger. She runs out to them, shouting that she missed her son-in-law very much. The wife very carelessly climbs off the horse, which is why the hero almost falls, asking the girl to take care of her son-in-law. Ryukshu is going to see her father, and she asks her husband to return to the room and heal himself. She also wants him to be careful and not go too far, otherwise no one will ever find the dead bodies. Junhan mentally notes that Ryukshu is clearly angry. When she leaves, he decides to find out if Xianger has been waiting for him every day, after which he clarifies if she can't wait to get into his bed already. Unexpectedly, the interlocutor gives a positive answer, asking if he will allow her to sleep with him in the same bed. This question confuses the hero, who is clearly just joking. He quickly steps forward, asking the girl to prepare a stove and a room for him, because he needs to heal his wounds, and he will tell her everything else later. The blonde takes off from her seat, wanting to look at her son-in-law's wounds. Junhan mentally asks her to get it over with. Using the yin-yang flower, Junhan made 3 yin-yang tianyun pills out of it. This powerful healing power fills his soul with a source of vitality, heals wounds and tones up. The wonderful method of the heavenly lotus is working, and Junhan is gradually entering a state of magic. The hero can finally try the soul travel method. His current spiritual strength should be of the 2nd order of the 9 categories of saints. This is equivalent to the absolute peak of the Tongmai kingdom. From Yanqingcheng's past, this girl was imprisoned in the clay pill palace because her cultivation was very mean to restrain her in any way. Today he can roam freely. It's a pity that the 2nd and 9th rank can be at most only 1 mile away from the body. If you reach the peak of the 7th order, then you can go 1,000 miles away there, which, according to Junhan, is very cool. Realizing that it's late, he decides to go and see if Xianger is sleeping. After passing through the wall, the hero looks into her room. The blonde is snoring sweetly on her bed. She is lying on her back, completely immersed in sleep. The guy quickly leaves her room, restraining the flow of blood from his nose and noting that this baby is driving him crazy. After that, he decides to visit young Ryukshu to check if she is sleeping or not, although he understands that if she is still not cold, he will get into trouble. Looking into the beauty's room, Junhan sees that she is sitting at the table and reading something. He assumes that this is a combat manual. Ryukshu is blushing all over, and beads of sweat are running down her face. When a guy imperceptibly approaches her under the table, his eyes widen, because the girl is reading something very intimate and related to carnal pleasures. The guy can't believe that his wife really reads such books. Junhan is drooling from behind his mouth. His wife is so sweet and lovely, and in general her hobby is quite interesting. The guy tries to force himself to stop staring, but he can't enjoy it in any way. At this moment, Ryukshu closes the book, preparing to go to bed. The hero also notices the beautiful figure of his wife. He wants to turn her around to see her beautiful eyes. But at this moment, when the girl is about to change clothes, his spiritual power ends and he disappears. In fact, everything turned out to be much more interesting. Returning to his body, he found a baby next to him, who joyfully said that she thought something bad had happened to him since he had not woken up for so long. The hero clenches his teeth to a squeak because he was so close to what he wanted. Xianger notices her son-in-law's mood, so she hurries to clarify whether he is angry at her and she did something wrong. Junhan asks her to forget, claiming that he will forgive her if she stops sleeping in her clothes. The girl is trying to understand how her offense is connected with the fact that she will sleep in clothes or not. The guy makes a hand-face gesture. The next day, someone knocks on the hero's room. Ryukshu appears on the threshold, which surprises him. She says she will escort him to the giant family home. Junhan repeats after her, trying to realize what he has forgotten or missed. The wife says that while he was away, his sister came, who told Ryukshu to come home, and when they met, she would tell the details. Miss Yang decides to go with him. The hero remembers his childhood. When other guys bullied him, his sister always stood up for him, driving bullies and bullies away from him. She often flew in, and her brother saw bruises and bruises on her body, but she always smiled at him, saying that everything was fine and this was just a small injury, noting that only his sister could do it, so no one else would pull his hair. Then the boy began to cry, because his sister's blows are much more painful. The hero recalls that the last Junhan went to the imperial capital 5 years ago to practice cultivation, but he did not wait for his sister to return so that she would support his endeavors. Husband and wife get into the carriage. Ryukshu tells the news for the previous 2 days. People from Junwang City also sent people to Tian County and paid attention to their city. The hero also notes that this is even good, because they spent a lot of time on the arrival of the prince, and now they need to recover. In addition, they must also destroy the Zhang and Lin families, and as soon as possible. The girl agrees, emphasizing that a few days later, the Zhang family suddenly got up from their knees. She is sorry that the dead Zhang Dong cannot be interrogated. The guy asks his wife not to worry, because he has always felt that there is some kind of connection between the Zhang family and the Black Wind. You need to think carefully before making the next move. The hero clarifies why not ride a horse today, because his wife has very good riding skills. Ryukshu turns away, calling him nasty. The girl walks forward with her head held high and a blush on her cheeks. And the guy understands that it's bad when you know too much. When they come to the door of the house, they stop. A representative of the fair sex asks her husband not to worry, because if his giant family does not accept him, then he can safely return to the city lord's mansion with her. The girl notices that as long as her young family does not fall, he will not cease to be their son-in-law for a single day. Junhan squeezes out a stingy thank you, because it's not exactly pleasant for him to hear such a thing. Entering the territory of the giant family, they are greeted by a crowd of relatives of the hero. One of them is amazed at the audacity of Junhan, who still returned home. The other one is trying to shut him up, because now he is the son-in-law of the city lord. The third emphasizes that Junhan was damn lucky, because he became the husband of young Ryukshu. Both admit that recently the person under discussion turned everything upside down and angered the owner. The hero clenches his teeth tighter hearing these conversations, because it turns out that his father is angry at him for having managed to occupy a high position. The guy decides to forget about it, deciding to think about this old man later. A man comes out to meet the couple, asking how the child had the courage to return, because he became a son-in-law in the mansion of the city lord. The man thinks that the guy wanted to run back to show him his power. Junhan is calm about it, admitting that he did wrong. However, this time, he returned to admit his guilt, so uncle should stop being offended. The interlocutor also reminds that the guy stole a secret recipe, and then became a son-in-law in the house of the city lord. The man believes that Junhan first betrayed and then humiliated their family, destroyed its foundation, and greatly sinned. He calls on all family members to gather so that they can rid him of this traitor of the giant family. According to the rules of their family, he must give up cultivation, then all his arms and legs will be broken, and he will be imprisoned in a dungeon so that he will never see the sun again. The guy realizes that his uncle has prepared in advance. A sinister smile appears on the uncle's face. He mentally notes that even if he doesn't get rid of Junhan today, he will at least be able to force his brother to give up the role of head of the family. Ryukshu intervenes in the conversation. She is very curious about who would dare to do all this to her husband, because since Junhan became the son-in-law of the Yan family, he became a member of her family, so anyone who goes against him will become an enemy of their family. The hero looks with surprise at his wife, who solves the issues for him. Uncle recognizes young Ryukshu. He wonders how old she is, because she has already reached the 5th rank of the Tongmai kingdom. At this time, the uncle's son, who believes that Junhan is worthless trash, who did not deserve to marry such a beauty, who, in addition, protects him. He wants to address Miss Yang, but she interrupts him, urging him to call Mrs. Giant. The guy does not understand why this is, by the way, but still decides to fulfill this request. At this time, the hero rejoices. His wife is very nice. He got the same feeling when he is protected, albeit for a short time. It's a really great feeling. The guy decides to note that Junhan married her without the consent of his family. In this case, their marriage is invalid, because it violates the law. The hero enters into a conversation, deciding to find out from whom he had to ask permission. The interlocutor replies that the head of the family. Junhan recalls that his father would not have consented, because then he was angry at him. Uncle says that if Junhan has even a drop of respect for his family, then he will give up cultivation and give up, otherwise he should not blame him for his problems later. The hero calls to stop walking around until about, because the guy knows perfectly well that his uncle has always disliked him, and now that he has a relationship, he wants to ruin everything. Junhan declares that he wants to see his father and find out if he gives his consent. The uncle thinks that the guy wants to annoy his father again, so he orders to take him. In fact, the man is angry because the brat is watching his dirty tongue. Here the voice of the head is heard on the street, asking who said that he did not agree with this marriage. Moreover, he very much agrees. The people greet their patriarch, and he wants to look at his daughter-in-law. The hero and his wife bow their heads, greeting their father and father-in-law. The father, ignoring his son, approaches Ryukshu, saying that she looks amazing, and that Junhan cultivated by the sweat of his brow in a past life to receive such a heavenly gift in this one. Miss Yang thanks her father-in-law for the praise. The man asks me to call him father, because my father-in-law sounds too boring. The girl and the man laugh, and the hero begins to get angry. He wants to intervene, but then someone grabs him by the collar. This person turns out to be his sister, who is even a little surprised that the brother still remembers that he has her, because she thought that he had long forgotten about her. Junhan notes that he never forgot about her, and he came back to see her when he heard about her return. My sister notices that they haven't seen each other for several years, but during this time my brother has learned to pour honey on his ears, so it's not surprising that he was able to marry such a beautiful girl. Pointing to her uncle, the girl declares that no matter what the old man says, the brother should not be afraid, because the sister will always protect him. Junhan nervously thanks for the care, but his sister asks him not to be particularly happy, because when all this is over, he will see what she will arrange for him. That sweet voice with which the sister speaks scares the hero. He realizes that it's still that devil. The father notes that the mother is Hanner will bless them from heaven, and a little later Ryukshu can bow to her grave as a sign of respect. At this time, the uncle decides to intervene in this matter, saying that even if the brother agrees to their marriage, they cannot close their eyes to the fact that Junhan stole the medicinal recipe, because of this, the giant family may lose its market. People urge the guy to give an account of his actions, otherwise he will lose their trust in himself. The sister does not understand why they have to report to the uncle, because the brother took only one piece, and she can give them 10 or even 100. The uncle's son claims that Jun Chang is no longer a member of the Jiang family, so he has no right to interfere in this matter. The uncle emphasizes that it's not the recipe at all, but the rules of their family that cannot be violated. And today the brother violates these rules because of affection for his beloved son. The sister emphasizes that she does not care about these rules, and if he touches his brother, she will kill him. The uncle's son says that this garbage is hiding behind a woman's skirt, but the girl's words sound convincing, because this devil is really capable of tearing off anyone's head. The patriarch comes forward, asking if the brother doesn't care that they are all connected by family ties here. The interlocutor again reminds that this is not the point, but that Junhan violated family rules, which is why he should be punished for what he did. The man believes that a person who not only does not raise his children, but also protects them from justice, cannot be the head of the giant family. The brother raises his hand, believing that the patriarch should vacate the place of the head. The hero's father decides to clarify whether they want to stage a riot. The uncle claims that he is doing this for the good of the giant family. He calls for a look at what the Jiang family turned into when he began to manage it. The man also emphasizes that the interlocutor does not feel a drop of guilt for what he has done. And now, their whole city is in danger, so he cannot watch how the giant family collapses under his control. Then the patriarch decides to ask if the brother knows how much effort he had to put in to restore their giant family from what it was before. The uncle's son intervenes in the conversation, saying that their giant family has already angered the emperor because Junhan became the son-in-law of the city lord, and now he will not be able to protect himself from his anger, and only when the Zhang family becomes the new owner of the city, they will be able to live peacefully on. At this moment, the hero intervenes in the conversation, finally understanding the logic of the interlocutors. He decides to explain to everyone that these two decided to suck up to the Zhang family, for which they plan to arrest him in order to send him to them and please their masters. Uncle claims that they have a partnership with the Zhang family, and if the Yang family disappears, then their Jiang family will become the third most influential family in the whole city. The hero's father notes that his relatives do not know how cruel and greedy Zhang Guozhu is, because when he takes control of the city, they will lose the wealth of the giant family. My uncle thinks it's much better than if they were destroyed. A man is ready to let his brother live if he gives up his son and refuses the role of the head of the family. But if he continues to resist, then he will quickly send him to his wife to the next world. Everyone takes up fighting positions, and Junhan starts laughing, admitting that this was the first time he saw someone so eager to become something of an errand dog, and comes up with a whole bunch of reasons for this. The hero stops abruptly, already seriously saying that a dog is a dog, and no matter how much she barks, she will not become a man. The uncle's son calls to grab the guy, believing that today he will lick his shoes. Junhan notices that this time he returned to the giant family home because he wanted to resolve an old conflict. But now everything has become much easier. The hero draws his sword, preparing for battle. He lashes out at Junhan, using the palm of compassion and believing that the guy just wants to die. The hero also draws attention to the fact that his opponent rushed into battle first in order to demonstrate his strength, but this only indicates that he does not know at all what preparation for battle is. Unwitting viewers exchange their opinions. They admire the skills of the eldest son, because they think that Junhan was just scared. The hero draws his sword and delivers a quick slashing blow. The attack of the red-haired man does not have time to reach him, but the sword easily cuts through the guy's flesh. A self-confident boy flies off to his father, being deprived of one arm. Tao is writhing in pain, and his father glares at the impudent man. The son is still trying to say that he will deal with him himself, but the man is against such a decision. He explains to his son that Junhan was hiding his true strength, and now he is a second-level Tongmai. and he is injured, so he should do nothing and retreat while there is such an opportunity. Tao is not very surprised by this situation. He rises to his feet, leaning on the spear with his remaining hand, after which he breaks forward, declaring that he can kill the hero even with one hand. The father does not have time to stop his son. The little sister puts her brother on her lap, asking if everything is all right with him. Junhan replies that it's okay, and he won't die. Then his gaze falls on his sister's very indecent neckline, and his nose starts to gush. The hero mentally emphasizes that it is unlikely that anyone would be able to stand in his place. So the accepted blow was definitely worth it. And Ryuxiu notices to himself that the guy had only one smell. She's even more afraid of him now. At this time, the father bends over the dead son. Veins are rising on his face, and tears are flowing down his cheeks. He begs to kill his son-in-law to kill his son. He announces a reward for killing Junhan of 10,000 gold. The students surrounding him instantly take out their weapons. Sister comes forward, declaring that anyone who goes against the giant family today will not be able to hope for mercy. Here the hero takes off. He assumes his true image. His skin is covered with a scaly layer, and wings grow on his back. With his bare hands, he kills several insolent people, and his father looks at Junhan with shock, realizing that he has awakened the ancestor dragon's bloodline. The guy turns his scarlet eyes to the others, asking if someone else is ready to go against him. Others realize that the son-in-law has the blood of the dragon ancestor. Many thought it was just a legend. Even Tao-Er's father freezes in amazement. He can't understand how this is possible. Delight and surprise appear in the eyes of the little sister, and only Yan Ryuxiu reacts with restraint. A modest smile appears on her face, because she has already seen the reincarnation of her young man. The head of the giant family announces that this is a real God's grace for their family, because Hanner has awakened the bloodline of the dragon ancestors. They had never had so many powerful weapons before. Those present listen to the words of the man. They are ready to accept their punishment, because it is a real happiness for them that the dragon's blood has awakened. Junhan realizes that the ancestral dragon blood gives him an exceptional status in the giant family. The hero's father puts his hand on the shoulder of his brother, who is holding his son in his arms, and urges him to stop. The brother laughs, asking what will happen to him. He admits that it was a big surprise for him that the dregs of the family were able to awaken the dragon's blood in themselves. He doesn't understand how to look into his eyes now. He snaps towards Junhan, wanting to find out how strong this legendary blood is. They exchange blows, which makes the son-in-law tense up a lot. He wonders if this is his opponent's limit. The onslaught of the brother of the head of giant turns out to be too much for the guy. He is thrown into the wall, and before the guy has time to recover, the man attacks him again. His speed impresses the hero. At this moment, Yan Ryuxiu begins to really worry, because it's not at all like her husband is giving in. She breaks down to him, and Junhan is going to use the soul technique. He doesn't have time to use the attack. His sister is ahead of him. She releases scarlet threads of incredible strength from her hand, which wrap around the attacker, not allowing him to move. She informs him that he cannot kill Junhan, after which she presses on the threads, turning the cultivator into a piece of meat. The son-in-law mentally notes that his sister is just incredibly strong, because at the age of 18 she is already a master of the 9th rank. Yan Ryuxiu stops a few steps away from his brother and sister. She looks at them sheepishly. Junhan takes his human form. His father decides to bury his brother and his son side by side. He emphasizes that all this is the fruit of his grandfather's upbringing, because he looked down on him and was dissatisfied with him, so his brother always tried to prove himself. The man asks his son not to hold grudges against him, because he has always been loyal to the giant family. The hero notes that he felt that his uncle's cruel heart is much weaker than it seems. Mentally, he regrets that he brought up his son very badly, which is why his life ended earlier than it could. Here the hero is grabbed by his sister and drags his head into his beautiful melons. For a moment, the guy feels that he has entered a real paradise. The same one wants him to go with her to change her clothes, and then it will be possible to talk to dad. In addition, his injuries need to be healed. Junhan tries to throw up, stating that he is no longer a child and can change clothes himself. The sister also notices that which of him is an adult, even if there is no press. The hero replies that it's all because she clicks on him. At this time, the guy's father turns to Yang Ryuxiu. The girl is all aflame with jealousy, but still distracted from her observation of her brother and sister. The man announces that he has nothing against Junhan joining their young family. However, now that he has awakened the ancestral dragon bloodline, his giant family cannot let him go so easily. The beauty bends down, noting that when they first arrived, they were told that their marriage with Junhan is not considered valid without his consent, and the wedding will have to be replayed again. The guy's father replies that it's not necessary, because it's nothing and everything is fine. Yan Ryuxiu doesn't quite understand what the point is then. The man explains that he wants her to have 2 sons from Junhan so that one can stay with their young family and the other will go to their giant family. The head of the giant family clarifies whether she can promise him this. The beauty blushes red from embarrassment. Young Ryuxiu declares that her first son will be named Jian, not Yang. The father laughs, noting that he has a very good daughter-in-law, after which he remembers the hero's mother, saying that she would be very happy in heaven. Then the hero comes out from around the corner, asking his father not to worry about it, because things are bad in their country right now, but they will try to raise their chicks as soon as possible. He takes his wife by the hand, noticing that this is what the father is waiting for, after which he asks the beauty, they are trying to do everything possible, aren't they? At first Ryuxiu squeezes out an aha, and then only asks with a glance what he is talking about. It seems to her that he conspired with his father, but she still decides to talk about it later. Junhan licks his lips, noticing to himself that he conveniently took advantage of the moment, so now he is one step closer to the goal. Then the sister comes out of the aisle, noting that the father has been postponing this conversation for too long. She emphasizes that the poison in his body has not yet been purified, and he should talk about this issue with his brother. The hero literally flies up to his father, wanting to find out how he was poisoned. It turns out that the day he left the family, he went to look for him, but did not expect to meet the boss of the Black Wind clan. In the end, he was injured by his poison and had to desperately flee, otherwise he would have died in his hands. Junhan is straining, because once again the cause of his troubles is the Black Wind. The father puts his hand on his son's shoulder, asking him not to be so impulsive. The Black Wind boss has a 7th rank master cultivation base, but this person is very skilled in various poisons, so even a 9th rank master can be trapped by him. Besides his 8 brothers, they also have other powers. In total, the village of Black Wind has more than 1,000 mountain bandits, and this is a considerable force. Junhan asks her father not to worry, assuring her that she knows that sooner or later, everyone in the Black Wind clan will die, and only 6 of the 8 brothers are left. This news surprises the head of the giant family, and the hero emphasizes that he killed them. The thought of when his son managed to become so strong does not come out of the father's head. The guy takes his father by the hand and leads him somewhere, saying that he will take out his poison, and he can also help him break into the realm of the great master of the 1st rank. This really amazes a man, and Junhan replies that it's nothing. The hero clarifies whether Ryuxiu will go with them. The girl notes that it is better for them to go together, and she will wait here. The hero's sister and wife are left alone. The sister asks what their relationship is with the young Linglong family. Jan doesn't understand what she's talking about. The interlocutor realizes that the girl does not know anything about her family, and she remembers that they have long since severed ties with their clan. The hero's sister notes that the young Linglan Zushin family will never let go of the descendant of the direct heir of the Lilan family, after which the girl warns that they will definitely come for her soon. The master of the 9th rank of the Tongmei kingdom hopes that they will be able to figure everything out on their own without involving Junhan when the time comes, because if something happens to Junhan because of them, then she will find them wherever they are hiding. The hero's sister touches Ryuxiu's face, whose gaze becomes very serious. She replies that Junhan is her husband and she will never hurt him, so there is no need to worry about it. The beauty beats off the hand of the interlocutor. The hero's sister hopes that she will be able to fulfill her promise, but she is sure that little depends on Ryuxiu here. After that, the girl emphasizes that Ms. Yang does not know how cruel this world is. Ryuxiu turns around, asking if she can give a guarantee that she can protect him. The beauty leaves with her head held high. The hero's sister touches her ring on her finger, after which a bald man in a raincoat appears behind her. He reports that news has arrived from the emperor that she must leave within 3 days, because there may be changes at the border. The girl clarifies if there is anything else. An older man emphasizes that her brother has the ancestral dragon bloodline, so if he starts imperial training, he can quickly become strong. The hero's sister orders him to be silent, urging him not to even think about blabbing her brother to someone. She orders him not to talk about what he saw and heard in Jian's house. The man is frightened by this reaction of his mistress, after which he bows his head, stating that he will keep his mouth shut. Mentally, he notes that the emperor's daughter is very strong, and she really deserves her nickname, the Crazy Princess. They are lower than the emperor, but above all people, the imperial daughter is Lai Chang. In the hand of the head of the giant family, a green flame burns, and he himself rejoices. The hero notes that they were finally able to remove all the poison from his blood. The father notes that they also restored his cultivation base. Junhan then hands over some scrolls to his father, saying that there are a few more exercises that will suit him well as a recipe for a first-class medicine. As a result, the hero fills his father's hands with various prescriptions of medicines and effective elixirs. At this moment, the hero's sister appears in the doorway. The father thinks that she gave him everything while she was changing clothes. She also takes out a small box, noticing that he has to do this too. The disgruntled father turns his gaze to his son, and he tells that he found all this when he went to the Black Mountain, where there was an abandoned monastery of some very strong man in which all this was stored. The guy asks his father to look at all this first to make sure that it is useful for the giant family. The man notes, so that's what it is, the life of a hero. The girl says that now that her brother has acquired abilities, she can safely return to the imperial capital. The hero clarifies whether she is leaving. The girl asks, he doesn't want to let her go. Junhan honestly admits that he doesn't want to. The sister takes the guy by the face, asking if he missed her legs, her waist, or something else. The last one, she clearly hints at her charms. The guy abruptly pulls away, blushing and saying that he doesn't want to. He just doesn't want to rush it. The little sister presses her brother to her charms, laughing and noticing that this time she will let him go. But when they meet next time, he will not leave her so easily. Junhan just can't stand it. His hand reaches out to the delicious peaches of the girl, but she intercepts his hand halfway, stating that he could not restrain himself at the sight of his sister, and he held on so bravely. Junhan decides to find out what the sister is dissatisfied with. The girl is very sorry, but he will have to wait obediently until she returns. The beauty seductively touches her lips with thin fingers, forcing the hero to fill with red paint. She starts to leave, and the guy exhales heavily, realizing that this is his first love. Going around the corner, the sister teleports behind the estate. Her subordinate notes that it's time for them to go. Mentally, the girl just doesn't want to involve him in all this because their worlds are too different. Junhan is going to deal with the Zhang and Lin families, who should have paid their bills long ago. There is a sale of new medicinal tablets in limited quantities on the market. The seller asks everyone to get in line, and the first 10 families who place bets will be able to participate in the drawing. The crowd immediately gathers. Everyone wants to get pills. At this time, Huyu declares that the giant family is clearly deceiving people, because where did they get so many new medicinal pills and at such a low price? It seems to her that the giant family wants to make a fool of themselves in front of everyone. She almost managed to trick Junhan and grab the recipe. If everything went according to plan, then the entire market belonged to her. The girl does not understand how she could lose. Lin Changyuan says that he has looked at these medicines, and they are fine, and moreover, it is simply amazing. The man notes that they are very effective, so this is an amazing job. You can even say that this is a premium product. He is angry, because if it were possible to turn back time, then these medicines would be in their hands. It's not just a market here, but here families compete with each other, and now their family is clearly losing. The girl asks what they should do. The man notes that the giant family has created a lot of hype around themselves, so he believes that in the near future the Zhang family will start acting, and only the marriage contract will save them. Shang Yuan orders the interlocutor not to let him touch her. The girl replies that she understood everything and will behave with restraint. Then someone laughs, asking if Brother Lin has a headache because of the pills. A man with red hair and the same beard appears at the entrance to the house. This is Brother Zhang. Shang Yuan decides to find out what he can do for him. The interlocutor suggests asking his eldest son. At this time, the guy approaches the girl and tells her that the older brother is amazing, because they studied at the Tanfeng Academy for 3 years, and now he is a great master. The beauty is surprised that he is a 22-year-old great master. The interlocutor asks her to look at him, because it was his brother who helped him get to the second stage of the Tongmai Kingdom. The elder brother declares that he has a plan that can stop the giant family and even destroy them all. At this time, Junhan is training his soldiers. They hold boulders at arm's length. He announces that if one of them does not hold out, then he will be his sparring partner tonight. Oddly enough, this serves as a great motivation for them. Each of them is tired of training with the master, but sparring with him will be even worse. A soldier approaches the hero and informs him that he has news. While drinking tea, Junhan encourages him to talk. The man, without raising his head, says that after the Zhang family left the Lin family, they secretly moved forward and sent their people to secretly purchase medicinal pills. The reborn notices that they did not use such a large bait in vain, because he does not know exactly how much gold the Zhang and Lin families have left. But if it is too little, then perhaps his next plan will have to be postponed. The subordinate reports that there are 300 people in their Black Dragon army in imperial armor, 130 of whom belong to the 9th rank of Kai Gathering, and 12 belong to the 1st rank Tongmai, and 1 to the 2nd order Tongmai, and this is already very rare for the military. Junhan notes that more than 70,000 gold coins were spent in a month, and even more than 100 people did not reach the 9th rank of collecting Kai. Junhan is very dissatisfied with this arrangement of affairs. At the next training session, he announces that from today, he does not allow anyone to sleep. He would give them 5 more days to reach the 9th rank, and for all of them to have more than 50 bangs that reach the Tongmai realm. Otherwise, they will all become his sparring team, against which he will fight in the guise of a dragon. Junhan decides to take advantage of the opportunity and strike, since the Zhang and Lin families are so brave. The younger brother decides to find out if these idiots from the Giant family have accepted their order, because the person they sent to them said that Giant Tian had already ordered someone to buy medicine. Big brother Zhang replies that everything follows according to plan. The Black Wind will continue its actions when they force Giant Tian to travel on his own. The guy orders to send Ryuxu an invitation to dinner tonight, and he will help open her eyes. He plans to send her to bed within a month so that she finally understands who the real man is here. Junhan is riding a horse around the city. He doesn't like at all what is being whispered about behind his back. They believe that he married a beautiful woman, but never slept with her, because Ryuxu is waiting for a master from the Zhang family, Zhang Fengkian. The guard holds his horse, saying that there have been various rumors going around lately. The hero notes that there is no need to worry, because soon she will realize that it hurts him. The guy exhales and enters the hall, greeting his father-in-law and mother-in-law. The woman rejoices at their return, but still she does not understand why he was away from home for so long. Junhan explains that he was afraid that his father-in-law would find out what he was going through. The mother-in-law asks to leave the father-in-law alone. The father-in-law declares that the prodigal son does not know at all how to educate soldiers, because he spent as much as 70,000 gold in 1 month. The man wouldn't have agreed to this if it wasn't for Xiang Shuang. The hero cordially thanks Teza, noticing that in the few days that they have not seen each other, she has become much younger and even more beautiful, and with Ryuxu they look just like sisters. The mother-in-law laughs, saying that he made a good joke, but still made her blush. Ryuxu declares that he is a sycophant. Junhan notes to himself that since they return from his house, his wife is not in a very good mood. The head of the Yang family becomes serious. He decides to find out what the son-in-law is going to do with the Zhang family and the Lin family, and whether he wants them to start attacking. This is a very important question, because people from the Black Wind also do not sit idly by. The man doubts that his giant family will be able to withstand this. Junhan asks his father-in-law to calm down. He admits that he really wants everything to be all right with the giant family, but that's not all, because he intends to get rid of this Black Wind. The head of the family notes that there are many people in the Black Wind clan, and at least 500 people should stay here. The father-in-law is ready to place 2,500 people at the disposal of the hero. He asks the guy to do without much loss. Ryuxu comes forward and declares that she is ready to lead the army and fight to the death with these bandits. Junhan notices that his father-in-law is very kind to him, but he does not need so many city guards, and Ryuxu will not have to fight. He asks for a loan of 500 men and his Black Dragon army. The man emphasizes that this is not for his sake, but for their young family, after which he asks how long his Black Dragon army has been training, and whether there are at least 300 people capable of fighting. The guy asks his father-in-law not to worry, noting that after spending so much money, he should show him the results of so many investments so that his father-in-law and mother-in-law could sleep peacefully at night. The head of the Young family releases his son-in-law, asking just not to piss him off. Junhan declares that with his permission, he and Ryuxu will go. The guy grabs the girl by the arm and takes her away, once again throwing that he will show them the results in 5 days. The man waves his hand at him, stating that he understood everything. As soon as the couple leaves, the hero notices that he did not expect his father-in-law to be so kind. Ryuxu decides to find out what she can do. The guy grabs the girl, asking her to give birth to his son. She pulls away from him, noticing that you won't get anything serious from him. Junhan replies that then they won't be in a hurry. Then a servant appears and, falling on one knee, holds out an envelope, saying that an invitation envelope has come from the Zhang family. The hero snatches a piece of paper from her hands, urging her to be careful because he may be poisoned. Ryuxu mentally notes that he just wants to see what's there. After running his eyes over the lines, the hero asks if she will go to the banquet at the House of Heavenly Virtue. The wife replies that she is not interested in such parties, after which she clarifies if he wants to go. The guy gives a positive answer, taking the girl by the hand. He tells her that this man is spreading rumors about them that he, Junhan, married a beautiful woman with whom he cannot even sleep. Ryuxu is a little surprised by this development of events. The hero notices that he is telling the truth. The girl bows her head. She thinks that if it wasn't for her, no one would have offended him. The guy sadly notices that Ryuxu has probably already got used to putting up with him, after which he abruptly becomes serious, noting that the eldest son Zhang said that he would sleep with her within a month. Junhan claims that he dared to insult her, so she will make him answer for his words. Ryuxu is embarrassed by such care. She just can't refuse, so she says that she will go to the banquet with him today. The reborn pulls the beauty behind him, wanting to choose her a dress. After a short demonstration, the surrounding people admire the master from the Zhang family. They recognize his strength, and the guy himself replies that all this is child's play, and nothing more, because martial arts still need to be shown in real combat. At this time, the younger brother turns to Hu Yu. He admires his relative, saying that he can kill people right in the air, so he was deservedly called the first genius of their city. The girl agrees that his older brother is really good. Mentally, she notices that compared to Zhang Feng, Zhang Heng is really lagging behind. One of the girls approaches Feng, asking if it is true that he will solve the problem with Yang Ruxiu within a month. Another member of the fair sex heard that Yang Ruxiu is still a virgin, and that she is waiting for young Master Zhang to pick her up. Feng replies that this is true, emphasizing that a nobody like Zhun Han does not deserve the best beauty of their city. Many also believe that the first beauty should be engaged to the first genius, and Zhun Han is nothing compared to Zhang Feng. Another girl remembers that young Master Zhang is now studying at the Tanfeng Academy and occupies an important place next to the emperor, so he has a greater future, and Yang Ruxiu is a fallen woman who is not worth his attention. The girl does not want to miss her chance, despite the fact that her family is not one of the 3 largest families, and they do not have much money. Feng approaches the girl, noticing that she is concerned about this. The genius of the Zhang family explains that he will simply save Yang Ruxiu, but he did not say that he would give her a special status. Then someone notices that it stinks a lot from here, after which the voice clarifies whether they are eating shit here by the hour. Everyone looks around, trying to figure out what Zhun Han has forgotten here. Fen is offended by this treatment, so he replies that he is a shit-eater himself. The hero emphasizes that nothing of the kind, because his mouth does not stink of shit. Everyone is paying attention to Yang Ruxiu here. Others realize that the dress of the first beauty of the city emphasizes her elegance. The genius of the Zhang family declares that Zhun Han is a loser and cheap. The girl from the Li family is angry, not realizing that Ruxiu forgot here. Fire appears in the hero's eyes. He calls on a pathetic pile of garbage to turn their eyes away from his beautiful wife. The guy notices that the girl is staring at his wife. She grins at this, clarifying, so he's the trash from the giant family. She declares that he does not dare to behave like this just because he has become a son-in-law in the city lord's mansion. Zhun Han gets close to the brazen girl, asking who she is. She says that her father is Lai Hongxi, the head of the Lai family, so he should roll from here quickly and far away. She dismisses him with her hand in disgust, and the hero makes a cut with a sword without any hesitation. Blood splashes all over the place, and people around are scared. The guy notes that she still chatted. Zhang Haiyan and Zhang Feng are tense from everything that is happening. A relative of the Zhang family, Zhang King, jumps up from his seat, stating that Zhun Han killed Zion Yu, so the Lai family will definitely not let him go. The hero declares that if he is a man, then let him avenge her, without all this useless nonsense. But the guy reminds him that if he decides to do this, he may die. King laughs, thinking that this is some kind of stupid joke, because how can a non-entity with broken meridians talk about someone's death? The comrade urges to send this dog to the next world as soon as possible, because this puppy will still have time to catch up with Zion Yu. King notices that being a tiresome trash all your life. Zhun Han notes that this is complete nonsense. In the next second, 2 friends are doused with the blood of their comrade. The son-in-law punches the body of the arrogant boy with his bare hand. He grabs the wound, not believing in what is happening, because according to rumors, his opponent is still a miserable trash. Zhun Han decides to tell his opponent about what is being said about him, so he encourages the guy to listen carefully and remember. Giant Han, 7 inches tall, is the first shooter in the snow-covered city. His comrades claim that his son-in-law did not let him attack himself, which is disgusting. The hero emphasizes that instead of fighting, King was talking some nonsense, so he did not intend to wait. Zhun Han offers the guy to avenge him. At this time, the genius from the Zhang family realizes that Zhun Han is not as hopeless as they say he is. Feng notes to himself that the son-in-law uses hidden attacks. He suggests that Zhun Han was able to repair the severed vessels. The genius recalls that not so long ago, the members of the Black Wind clan who surrounded Yang Ruxiu were also completely destroyed by mysterious people. The guy wants to know where the Yang family found an expert who can help. He decides to find out more about it. Feng asks Ruxiu if there is any misunderstanding between them, because her husband behaves very inappropriately to a guest. The beauty claims that her husband has a reason for this behavior. The hero mentally notices that it was not for nothing that he pretended to be offended, because it gave a good effect, because his wife realized that she had offended him greatly with her behavior. The genius mentally insults the girl. He already imagines how she will lick shoes when he destroys the Yang family. Zhun Han finally enters the conversation. He asks the young master not to be angry, because he has specially prepared a gift in honor of his arrival. The hero noted that he hoped that the gift would please the fan. A servant comes up with a velvet box and opens it a little. The face of the genius of the Zhang family changes beyond recognition. Zhun Han claims that he heard that in Zhang's private house, girls are sorted by jade stamps, so he decided to take them away. Feng furiously asks what he did. The son-in-law notices that now so many beauties will no longer feel lonely. He sent them to a military camp. The soldiers accepted this as a consolation prize for the work they had done. They praised the mighty son-in-law for such a gift. Junhan emphasizes that anyone in their army can make these beauties forget about their home, so there is no doubt. The hero decides to find out whether Feng Zhang is so pleased with the gift or not. He asks how he dares to behave like that. At this point, the son-in-law becomes serious. He claims that the interlocutor intended to take his wife away from him for a month and allowed his people to spread ridiculous rumors in order to humiliate them with Ryukshu. Junhan offers the genius to taste the bitterness of resentment, because it's a pity that young Master Zhang does not have a wife yet. Fen is trying to hold on with all his might, because they have a grand plan ahead of them, so it's just inappropriate to break down because of such trifles. The younger brother still can't stand it. He takes off, saying that Junhan is too arrogant, because he not only attacked the Zhang family, but also insulted his brother, so today he will not leave this house alive. The older brother is waiting. He wants Junhan to show his true strength so that he can wipe him out. Dodging an opponent's blow, the son-in-law asks if he wants to stand up for his older brother. Zhang Huang emphasizes that Junhan shouldn't be so arrogant because he underestimated him at the very beginning. He releases his power, declaring that he will destroy his son-in-law. The surrounding immediately feels the second level of the Tongmai kingdom. Noticing that there really are a couple of geniuses in the Zhang family, Yu mentally notes that Zhang Huang is not much better than his brother Zhang Feng, but he is still stronger than this trash. The hero notices that his dear grandson has reached the second level of the Tongmai kingdom, so it's not for nothing that he dares to fight with his grandfather. But he should think carefully before doing this, because grandfather has a heavy blow, so he should keep in mind that if he dares to attack, then he should not blame grandfather for what he caused pain to your beloved grandson. This angers Zhang's younger brother even more. Everyone is amazed by the aura of the tiger behind the guy's back. They assume that it is a master-level martial art and a special practice of the Zhang family. They are sure that Huang Han will not be able to dodge such a blow. Haiyan screams that he wants him to die. He had been training a lot lately and was looking forward to today. The guy is sure that he is doomed to death. Releasing his aura, Junhan easily catches Huan's fist with a calm smile. He is happy that he got there, but the hero notes that he does not listen to what his grandfather tells him, after which he prescribes him a powerful bream. Zhang Haiyan doesn't understand how this is possible. Disbelief and fear appear on the faces of everyone around. Huan is lying on the floor, spitting blood. The hero steps on him, asking how he feels and whether his grandfather hit him too hard. Zhang Feng declares that if the son-in-law dares to touch his brother, he will kill him. Yu notices that if he hurts her fiancé, she will fight him until her last breath. Huan asks how dare he, because his dad and brother will never forgive him. After hearing these words, Junhan declares that then let them try. He swings his leg with all his might, after which he turns the boy's head into a bloody mess. This infuriates the genius of the Zhang family.